Hampton Hotels overall standings after stage 13. Very little change. Nocentini still in yellow. Still 6 seconds behind is Alberto Contador. A couple more back. Lance Armstrong from Astana.
Andreas Kloden also from Astana in 5th. Rinaldo Nocentini, a real stranglehold on the yellow jersey. A little bit surprising to see that still.
American Christian Vandeveld still well placed in 7th. A minute 24 back. Andy Schleck from Saxo Bank. We expect him to fly in the Alps. He sits in 8th. Carlos Sastre, the defending champ, still 2:52 behind.
And Cadel Evans and Denny Menchov, 3 minutes and 7 to Cadel and 5+ to Menchov. They are a long way down already.
Some more Americans, George Hincapie, David Zabriskie, Tyler Farrar, and Danny Pate have already done great work for their respective teams as well. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to our Cadillac pre-race show along with Bob Roll. I'm Craig Hummer. Well, today we expect another round in what has become a prize fight between Mark Cavendish and American Tyler Farrar. So, today, does Cav deliver the knockout blow, or do the Stars and Stripe fly over the Citadel here in Besançon?
Well, a last chance for romance for the sprinters before the last day in Paris. I think the teams will control it to take the sprinters to the line, chase down all the breakaways, and Tyler Farrar gets closer and closer each time we have a sprint finish. I think that today is his day to finally win a stage and get the better of Mark Cavendish.
Speaking of that progression, let's take you right now to the Wells Fargo highlights and just show you how Farrar has improved leaps and bounds over the start of this tour. We go to stage 2. Mark Cavendish was untouchable there.
Big field sprint on stage number 2. We expected that. What we didn't expect was Cavendish to have such a clear advantage on all of the other sprinters. We look again, Mark Renshaw, he's doing the lead out. He's sitting Cavendish in the slipstream of Renshaw. When Renshaw pulls off, it's Cavendish's moment to sprint for the line. The other riders lined up on Cavendish's wheel need to hope that he got the timing wrong, but with his speed and aerodynamics, Tyler Farrar perfectly positioned here to win this stage. But watch Cavendish accelerate to the line. No answer from anybody else, even though Farrar was the closest to Cavendish. Cavendish was clearly the winner, going away all the way to the finish.
About 6 bike lengths in front, still accelerating when he hit the line, and you can see the celebration says it all. That was his first of 4 wins this year. His 4th came in stage 11 in this setup in a very interesting fashion.
Fast forward a few stages and you see Cavendish on the inside, Tyler Farrar on the outside, a real drag race to the line, and Tyler Farrar just a half of a wheel behind Mark Cavendish, much closer than stage number 2.
We go to the Rollustrator again. It was the same lead out for Cavendish, but this time there was a little bit of a different consequence.
That's Renshaw again. This time he'll pull off to the other direction. Watch Cavendish start to come through. He has the inside line on that. Hushoff moves first in the green jersey, and Tyler Farrar right now, he has a moment to decide, where do I need to go? And he decides that when Renshaw pulls off, he'll be coming back through the gap between Cavendish and the fence. He takes the other direction a little bit further, but at least daylight. You can see Hushoff has the jump, but Cavendish finds a little hole between Hushoff and his teammate Renshaw. But watch Tyler Farrar in the blue shorts and white jersey start to come out on the outside, going a little bit more quickly than Cavendish, but runs out of road. He has a little bit longer trajectory. If he gets that part of the equation right, he has the speed to beat Cavendish.
He covers a ton of extra real estate. He ends up coming back at Cav. And speaking of coming back at him, this is the closest anyone has come to Cavendish in a long while.
And when we wonder why is Cavendish so much quicker than his rivals, what we see is his aerodynamic position on the bicycle a lot lower than Farrar. You can see Farrar a little bit broader in the shoulders, a little bit higher up over the machine, generating the power. But at these speeds, they're going so fast, even this much of an aerodynamic advantage gives Cavendish the edge, and he has 4 stage wins to prove it.
It just looks a little bit like Tyler Farrar fighting the line and fighting the bicycle, whereas Cav stays tucked, and that is one of the reasons why he's proven unbeatable so far at this year's tour. 4 stage wins in 2009. Those are your Wells Fargo highlights. We take a look at how they compare 4 stage wins for Cavendish's, but 4 top 5 stage finishes for Tyler Farrar. Farrar is very close, isn't he?
He's getting closer and closer. He's going to have his day to win a stage. Also, when you've been that close so many times, a little bit more hungry than the man that's already won 4 stages. So watch for Tyler Farrar. Today's his best chance to win a stage in the Tour.
And if it hadn't been for that Barcelona crash, Tyler Farrar would be in the mix for the green jersey as well. Every day it takes countless hours and countless people to get our shows ready.
Better. Stand by to roll goal, Paul. Okay, hold on. We're going to take 21. Roll gold.
Bob, you're
roll
on
gold.
camera too. We prefer you weren't on any, but you're on two.
Okay, Phil, take it.
Take silver, go. Let's go to commercial.
Oh, great. Who let those two in there?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Leslie.
Break, Bob. Don't forget, though, we're still on the bird.
Yes,
Hopefully the
no
Brits
back
don't
chat.
hit the off button and they join us when we return.
The 2009 Tour de France pre-race on Versus is presented by Cadillac.
Choosing a car is like trying on a dress. As soon as you slip into it, you know it's the one. But you still turn around to see the back. Because let's face it, you want them to hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Introducing the all-new Cadillac CTS Sportwagon.
There are moments in life when there are no limits, no boundaries, no walls. That the rules of gravity just don't apply. Because there is no statute of limitations on greatness.
Of the jerseys changed hands yesterday. Nocentini still in yellow, Martin still in white, but Torhushov has grabbed green and Pellizzati is in the polka dots. Welcome back to our Cadillac pre-race show. It's now time to welcome in our bicycling brethren of Besançon, Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwen. Guys, how was your time in the control room?
I actually enjoyed it. I didn't know there was anybody else on the team, but there's lots of people down there.
No, the scary thing was I really wanted to get into Bob Roll's mind.
Oh.
I got in there, and that's why I've come back.
Well, that's the problem now. I've still got Phil Liggett in this here.
Well, speaking of being in people's minds, Bob's got enough voices in his head, guys. Is it a good idea to put your two in there as well?
No, it's not. No, and he didn't, as usual, pay attention when I spoke to him either.
How does Garmin, guys, derail the Columbia train today, Phil?
It's very hard, but you know, it's not as if they haven't been trying. They've had 2 second places with Tyler Farrar, and they are trying. Each time they go away, they plan what they did wrong, and they try to work out something. But it's quite simple, really. You've got to get a team in amongst the lead-out train for Columbia HTC, and they need more men in that final lead-out, and they need to break in. And I don't mean just with the shoulders. Everybody fights for Cavendish's back wheel. You've got to get into that line, spoil the rhythm, because I believe that Tyler, head-to-head, will run Cavendish pretty close.
I think the only way to do it actually is to start and take the responsibility of setting up your own train, not relying on somebody else. And that's the way to beat Team Columbia. We saw that they tried a couple of days ago, but you know, Team Garmin have got the firepower to do it. You put Christian Vandervelde at the front, you put Bradley Wiggins at the front, David Miller, those guys have got serious firepower. To beat Cavendish, they've got to make their own train.
There's only one way to do it, and that's to prevent Julian Dean from getting shot out on the race course. Julian Dean
That's also true.
caught a BB gun. Somebody was shooting randomly into the peloton, and I think that's probably going to enrage him a little bit more. Maybe get into that train of Team Columbia for the Garmin rider, Tyler Farrar. Very fast sprinter. You either need to take chances or have more horsepower, and either one is not a very savory prospect when you're talking about how fast Team Columbia is in the final couple of kilometers. So it's going to be a very tall order for anybody.
Well, you brought up a serious point of something that happened out on the course yesterday. It was of Julian Dean as well as Oscar Freire that did get hit by someone with a pellet gun. I mean, certainly they are thinking of trying to prosecute whoever they do find, because this raises safety issues, doesn't it, Phil, throughout the race?
It does, but when you've got deranged people, you'll never stop them. Whatever the safety, you put a barrier there, they'd shoot through the barrier. You may remember when we came here last, when Laurent Jalabert was the winner, as they were presenting Laurent Jalabert with his prize, some nutter in his car drove down the finishing straight and hit 10 people He was taken away and he was deranged. But, you know, you can't stop that thing.
Well, to go back to the Garmin issue, Tyler Farah certainly gaining confidence, it seems, every day. And today does look like another day of a bunch sprint. Paul, take us through that map.
Well, theoretically, it should be a bunch sprint for the riders today, and probably the last time the sprinters will have a chance to come out and go for the finish line until we get to Paris-Champs-Élysées. It's a fairly flat course. The riders leaving Colmar, where they finished yesterday, meandering through the Jura on today's stage, but no real high mountains, a couple of little undulations. It shouldn't really worry any of the sprinters at all on the way down to Besançon, which just happens to be the capital of the watchmaking industry here in France. There you can see nothing really, I don't think, to worry anybody, especially when you imagine what's coming up on the horizon.
Absolutely. Of course, tomorrow we go to Verbier. They almost attack on that climb. But for today, it's a fairly flat, undulating ride, about the same distance it is between Denver and Pueblo in Colorado. It's the 18th time the race has come here. Besançon is a very famous stop-off point. And just look who the last winner was. Lance Armstrong, 2004. Will that be an omen for today? Will it heck? Will it heck?
Well, he has been biding his time, hasn't he? One guy who's just more than happy to be out in front for the past few days. The guy sitting next to me. It's time for our Cadillac performance predictions. Let's go to the standings so far. Somehow, some way, Bob Roll got a point yesterday. Nostra Bobkiss is what he's becoming. He now has a 7-point lead over myself and Paul Sherwen. And here it was, Bob, yesterday. Sylvain Chavanel hanging on for you to finally get that final point. And you started the day going, I got 4 points. It's 4 points. Okay, he's good for 3, 2. Please just get me 1, Sylvain. Here's the jersey. Darn it all.
That was the hardest earned point ever. Sylvain Chavanel absolutely dying the last 50 Ks of the race. He knew I picked him, so he hung on there for 1 point, but I really felt for him dying in the rain there. I think he got the bonk and just couldn't hold anybody's wheel, and the peloton was charging behind, and I was yelling, go,
all right, Bob, don't make a big
I was going to say, but I think the two of you, we were all commentating, of course, at the time, but under my breath at every commercial break, I was saying, come on, Peloton. Come on, Peloton. You can do it.
But when I'm commentating as well, I'm thinking, I hope this guy doesn't score points. But there's Sylvain Chavanel. I hope this guy doesn't score points for Bob. He's going too far ahead here.
Oh, darn. Well, today, of course, is a new day. Another chance for all of us. First man to pick today, Paul Sherwen.
Sorry, guys. I know Phil gets very upset about this, but I will pick first, and it is, as far as I'm concerned, a sprinter's day. And who else can we pick? The man from the Isle of Man, Mark Cavendish, the fastest man on 2 wheels. He's won so far 4 stages. He's trying to take the outright record of British stage victories in the Tour de France. I got a funny feeling today he may well rack up win number 5 in this year's Tour, making his total a total of 9.
And I've got a funny feeling Bob Roll may score more points again today. You've got the second pick.
I'm picking second today. Luckily, it's a sprint stage, a little bit more predictable than the breakaway stages, and I'm taking Tyler Farah.
No, I wanted Tyler Farah.
Too bad. You'll have to wait till Farah. He's very fast. The only guy to match the acceleration of Mark Cavendish is this man, Tyler Farah, from the Garmin squad. He's going to win a stage in the Tour de France, and I think that today is his day. He's got a great chance. He's almost got Cavendish a few days ago, and today will be his day. He's a young guy, first Tour de France, very excited. He's very calm, cool, collected, and he's going to sprint for some points for me today, I promise.
Well, Phil, you do have next pick, but I guess your guy was taken, so who are you going to go with?
Yes, I just found out too. I thought I was going to have Tyler Farah. I've had such bad luck with the order of picks because it's all the flat stages. The first pick is Mark Cavendish. I get the difficult stages and I get nothing. I'll tell you what, that all my friends on Twitter.com are on my side. I've read them all. Poor Phil, they said, gets all the bad days to pick. Well, I will go for Tor Hushop because it's one-on-one for the green jersey, and I think Tor is riding superbly. If you get back into the peloton yesterday in the mountains and just get beaten, but he had a high place finish, he's got to defend that green jersey and he's got to win more stages. So today is the day.
You know what? I picked 4th today. I could take a page out of Phil's playbook and lament the fact that I'm 4th, but there's no whining in cycling. You can't whine in cycling at all.
There is from this end of the table.
Maybe all the way down there, but over here, I'm confident with Oscar Freire. It's his time. The Spaniard is finally going to do something. We told you how he got hit with that Peloton. I think he comes out angry at everybody else today and uses this motivation and uses this focus to finally break through and come good. His team, Rabobank, needs a little love at this year's Tour de France, that's for sure. So hopefully today is the day, not only for Oscar Freire, but for me. I need some points. I got to try to catch up with you.
You need some points.
Yeah, I do. Well, you need a little bit more than I do.
I've been last for 2 years now.
Consistency.
Well, that's true. And that's a long time. You're right, at the tail end of the tape. So we'll see. Okay. Besançon's considered the biggest, what shall we say, protected area in France. Today's a day to either protect contenders or protect your fast men for the final few hundred meters.
The 2009 Tour de France pre-race on Versus is presented by Cadillac.
I love the word live strong, not just for what it means for cancer, but what it means for life, period. I think we all go through obstacles. In 2007, I was diagnosed with a very rare disease called Behçet's disease. It was a very tough time for me. For so long, Lance has really been the flag bearer in cancer awareness, and I think it's time for the rest of us to definitely help to spread the word. I compare a lot of this whole cancer situation with my Behçet's disease because for me, that's real. It's inspiring when you see someone else out there going. When you just in your mind think, nothing's gonna stop me. I don't care how I felt yesterday, I'm gonna go out today and do what I know I can do. If you can just tell yourself, no, I'm stronger than this, no, I'm better than this, no, I'm faster than this, no, I'm tougher than this, I think you can make it through situations that you never thought possible.
This is humiliating. Stand still so we can get an accurate reading. Okay, 18 pounds and a smidge.
A smidge?
You know, there's really no need to weigh packages under 70 pounds. With priority mail flat rate boxes from the Postal Service, if it fits, it ships anywhere in the country for a low flat rate.
Cool. You know, this scale is off a good 7, 8 pounds. Maybe 5.
Priority mail flat rate boxes, only from the Postal Service. A simpler way to ship.
The pitch from Hamels. He walks him.
Chase one outside. Who are you?
Oh, Dad.
Oh, no.
Wearing the same cap the pros wear doesn't mean you're one. New Era. Make the majors or buy one at the store. Get your New Era cap at Lids.
Hey, I'm Jake of Body by Jake and founder of Exercise TV.
It's time to make the commitment to lose weight and get fit. That's why I created Exercise TV, to give you access to the best workouts from the best fitness trainers. Exercise TV delivers hundreds of workouts every month, so you'll never get bored. If you have digital cable, it's free on demand. And now, Exercise TV takes fitness online with exercisetv.tv, where you can get free workouts, downloads, and exclusive exercise tips. Make the commitment. Your workout is waiting.
Crank it up. The ultimate NASCAR pre-race party is only on Speed. NASCAR Race Day. Be there. You'll be in the middle of the action. Live with John Roberts, Jimmy Spencer, Kenny Wallace, and thousands of NASCAR's biggest fans. And get the inside track with live reports from Wendy Venturini.
Let's get to the stories at hand.
Don't miss NASCAR Race Day. Built by the Home Depot. All season long. NASCAR on Speed. Oh, yeah. Be there.
Yesterday, we briefly returned to the mountains for a taste of what's to come in the Alps, where the real fireworks are set to go off. But today, we return to the flatlands where the Sultan of Speed, Mark Cavendish, will look to notch up his 5th stage win and get his hands back on the green jersey that was ripped off his shoulders by the god of thunder, Torhushoff, under the stormy skies of Colmar. American Tyler Ferrer also has his own plans of spoiling the sprinters' party, this in the hopes of taking his first ever Tour stage win. Join us on the Speed Express, next on Versus. It's destination Besançon today. This is the view from the medieval city as we look down on the twisting River Doubs. And this city is going to welcome home another stage of the Tour de France. Quite a long ride today, 124 miles. The crowd already in position, and it's still a few hours before the riders come up the straight here. Hello everybody, welcome back. Yes, we're live again on the Tour de France. I'm Phil Liggett, this is Paul Sherwen. Well, it should be a day for the sprinters, although I can tell you right now there's a good breakaway underway and there might be a surprise leader by the end of it. But if it does all come together, which is usual on a flat day, then it will be a day for the sprinters.
Well, the sprinters would like to have a day today, Phil, because they don't have very many more chances before we get up to Paris. And I have to say, if we're talking sprinters, we're really talking three men since the start of this Tour de France. Mark Cavendish, Tyler Farrar, and of course Thor Hushovd. And every time they've gone head-to-head, Cavendish has come out the winner. Tyler Farrar, you can see, has finished second, third and second. That's pretty consistent. Thor Hushovd, on the other hand, has been fourth, twice second and fifth, but he's been more consistent than the other three on some of the other stages, and because of that, Phil, he leads the green jersey competition.
He snatched it back yesterday, in fact, by getting into the group that came down without Mark Cavendish. He was beaten in the sprint by Peter Velits, but he earned enough points to get back the green jersey, which is something he was quite surprised to do. It's close in the standings. Let's have a look at the standings. There is this 5 points gap between Hushovd, 205, Mark Cavendish, 200. Rojas in his first tour lies third. Tyler, with his consistency, is fourth on 110, and Cholik is in fifth. And these are the points available today.
On the flat stages, 3 intermediate sprint points with 6, 4 and 2 points for the 3 first riders across the line. All on the line, 35 points for a victory, tailing down to a single point if you cross the line in 25th place.
Well, let's start off with our Nature Valley stage reset, going down to the start in Colmar today. 164 riders on the start line, the yellow jersey for a week now on the shoulders of Ronaldo Nocentini. And he's quite happy as he rolls away, having a joke with a member of the crowd there, I think, Paul. Then it's out to the 0 kilometre and the flag goes down.
Well, when the flag goes down on any stage of the Tour de France these days, it's guns away, and as immediately they went through kilometre 0, attacks came thick and fast.
Well, the first sprint at Pulvergheim was a bit of a sprint here. There was a breakaway on of 13 riders as they headed up with 34 kilometres covered. Gerald Cholik taking that from Milram ahead of the sprinters Bernardi and Rigi. Lance Armstrong, well, a little bit drier anyway. The rain's gone away for the moment, stalking the bunch, letting everybody know he was safely in there. Sprint number 2 coming 67 kilometres down the road after 49.8 kilometres had been covered in the first hour. And the first prize here for the New Zealand rider Hayden Rolston in his first Tour de France ahead of Christophe Lemervel and Sébastien Minard. Well, this happened. There were 13 riders in the break. Jens Voigt, now watch this. This is a little while back now. Jens Voigt gets a very bad neutral service back wheel change. He's not happy.
Normally it takes between 5 and 6 seconds to change a front wheel, between 10 and 15 seconds to change a rear wheel. But Jens Voigt lost all chance of getting himself back into the main field there because, sadly, the mechanic had a bad day.
So he had to give up. The peloton brought him back to heel. He had a little grumble to everybody he saw in the peloton, I think. Meanwhile, the local regional rider, as we call them, Christophe Moreau, was out in search of his wife and his daughter, and he found them.
Yeah, 2 yellow jerseys, and of course winner of the prologue of the Tour de France in Dunkirk ahead of a certain Lance Armstrong a number of years ago, and becoming one of the most experienced riders in the field. And strangely enough, Phil, by next year he's decided to race for another season.
Onward we go, though. The first climb of the day, third category, 90 kilometres covered. Le Bertin is the place where the hill was. Frederick Williams first over, 4 points. Albert Timmer 3, Sergei Ivanov 2, Gerald Cholik got 1. That's our Nature Valley stage reset, and the surprise I was talking about, we'll fill you in just a moment now as we look out across the countryside here. We're heading into the department of the Doubs today, and these pictures are in high definition, so please check into that and enjoy these wonderful pictures with us. The weather forecast a little bit iffy, I have to say. The showers forecast have been in and out. 52 degrees is a bit chilly for this time of the year, and light winds. 164 started of the 180 who began with us in Monaco. 8 of the 20 teams are still intact. Riders we've wired up to check out the heartbeats today is Chris Anker Sorensen, Brian Van Berg, and a Mr.
Stefan Ogier.
Thank you very much. Stefan Ogier, the Frenchman. Now, the story I was telling you about, there he is. Number 74, George Hincapie, as we speak, is 5 seconds off becoming the race leader on the road. He has been the race leader on the road today. He started the day 5 minutes 25 seconds behind. They have been up to 5.5 minutes ahead. And believe it or not, George Hincapie's old mate, Lance Armstrong, has told the team to chase him down.
A very complicated tactical situation on the race this afternoon, and I'm very surprised to see Team Astana actually setting the pace-making, because none of the riders in that leading group of 12 are serious challengers for the overall bike race. And the only reason I can think that Astana have come to the front is because they don't want a breakaway to get too big an advantage.
Well, that's the way it certainly appears today. We are looking at the whole of the Astana team on the front. We're 102 kilometres approximately from the finish. The gap is 5 minutes 22. There's an irony, isn't there, Paul, really? Armstrong was alongside George Hincapie for all 7 of his Tour victories. That's Armstrong's, not George's. And George now in the breakaway rides on the rival Columbia team. And Lance has obviously told the team not to allow this breakaway to gain any more time. George Hincapie starting this day 5 minutes 25 seconds behind. He's wiped out most of that. It would be a real twist in the tail if Hincapie was to wear yellow tonight.
It certainly would, especially when you bear in mind where we're going tomorrow, because we're going up to the ski resort of Verbier in Switzerland. I have a feeling, though, that what has happened is that Team Columbia, although they've placed George into this, it's almost by mistake that George is looking at trying to grab the yellow jersey, because they also have the tactical desire to try and get another stage victory with their man Mark Cavendish.
So as the birds are flying the coop today, it looks as though we have a good break. A little bit of a speed wobble on those left hands there. The road's a little bit slippery, because the rain, as you can see, is with the riders at the moment. It's dry at the finish, but the wind is rising all of the time. We have a good high-speed breakaway today. I'll give you all of the names when we come back, but it looks as though the sprinters are going to have to work hard if they want to win the stage today.
Kelly Saunders' Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars. The taste nature intended.
Wow. 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 It's the WOW sale.
Get your WOW at Trek dealers. WOW prices on bikes. WOW savings on accessories and gear. Save big now through the end of the tour and win.
Win Lance's bike.
Win my bike. You can win my bike and other great Trek prizes.
Scratch and win every day online or at your local dealer.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Every day.
Save big. Win big now. July 17th through the 26th at Trek dealers. Get your WOW.
The relationship you have with your car isn't so different from your other relationships. Some burn hot and fast, but don't last very long. Some burn for a while, but don't throw much heat. And some smolder beautifully for a long time.
The award-winning Cadillac CTS sedan. And coming soon, the all-new CTS Sport Wagon.
help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people.
The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive. Call or click today.
We're looking at the peloton in the Tour de France. They covered 49.8 kilometres in the first hour. They're absolutely flying today. It hasn't stopped a breakaway of 12 men getting clear. And at the moment, George Hincapie is the maillot jaune of the Tour de France on the road. He's recouped all of his lost time and a few seconds more. And this is Bernati we're looking at the moment in the lime green there. He's in the breakaway. The Française de Jeu rider there is Christophe Lemaivel, the rider in white. George Hincapie, the man with everything to gain today. Well done, George. 5 minutes 25 seconds behind the race leader Noscentini at the start of the day. And the break is now well ahead. Well, we're heading down into the department of the Doubs now as we say goodbye to the territory of Belfort and the Haute-Rhine. Rolling away a little bit. This is the last town, Montbouton, in the department of Belfort before we cross over the borders into the department of the Doubs. We'll stay there all day then as we go down to Besançon. Interesting move. We'll see lovely lush green scenery today. Unfortunately, the rain has helped that over the last few days. And not really a hilly race, a little bit ripply at the section they're in at the moment. Basically, though, this is a day for the sprinters, but a big breakaway, which includes a couple of very fast sprinters, has got clear.
Yeah, it's rather interesting, Phil, that 11 teams represented in that big breakaway, so it doesn't leave a lot of teams prepared to make the pace-making on the front end of the main field. I would have expected, really, to see AG2R come to the front and do the pace-making because they are looking at trying to keep the yellow jersey for another day.
Well, they're obviously riding pretty quickly. They're picking up some strong wins today, and they're making it worth the while. We could be home early tonight. A beautiful view from the peloton, from the helicopter here, but as you can see, they are racing very, very quickly today. Just 0.2 of a kilometre short of 50 kilometres in the first hour of racing. A breakaway nonetheless has got clear. 12 kilometres in, the riders who got cleared, including George Hincapie, Hincapie has taken over the race lead on the road. Of course, he's got to be at the finishing line before he gets a yellow jersey. And irony above ironies, it's his old teammate, Lance Armstrong, who has told the Astana team not to allow that break to go too far. They're chasing it down.
I think Astana just want to keep some control on the front end of affairs here, Phil. They don't want a breakaway to get clear by 10, 15 or 20 minutes. They're casting their mind back to a breakaway in this region a number of years ago on the road to Pontarlier, where a race breakaway succeeded by 35 minutes because nobody would take the responsibility to chase. Team Astana are riding like the race leaders team at the moment because I think tomorrow they probably will have the yellow jersey in their ranks.
Daniela Bernati in the lime green passing through there. Martin Mascand having a nice feed from Garmin Slipstream. You saw George Hincapie go through. Hincapie is the man in the lead of the race. Frederick Williams, number 99. And Nicholas Roach, the Irishman, the son of Stephen Roach, former winner of the Tour de France. Nicholas is riding his first tour, and he's already looking as good as his dad because he's having a marvellous first time.
He had a little bit of a difficult ride through the opening Pyrenees, but that was because he had the responsibility of doing a lot of pacemaking for his team. His team obviously have led this race since the Pyrenees and the big climb up to Arcalys, but since then he's recovered extremely well, and I think he's having a good tour.
5:50. George is going clear at the moment. Well, they seem to have stopped chasing at the moment. Let me remind you why we just got a lull in proceedings to go to versus.com/ride of your life and play our Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes. You could win a trip for two to next year's Tour de France, an S2 Cervelo bicycle, yellow jersey or a polka dot jersey. You need the code word to get on board, and there it is today. It is Chasers. And today the Chasers are Lance Armstrong's Astana team as they try to bring back that breakaway. Just keeping George in the gun sights, I think. it might be a nice move to shift the yellow jersey across to Team Columbia as we go into the Alps tomorrow. It could be interesting. It would also free up Nocentini to put in another surprise move like he did just on a week ago on the road to Arculis in the Pyrenees. How time flies on the Tour de France. We look down here at the vineyards of the region, the long straight line at the front, and at the moment Hincapie is the race leader by a full 30 seconds of the Tour de France. Not everybody worries about that. He's meeting his old mates as he passes through his home area. We'll take a break.
Just another perfect day. I think I'll walk this way where the trees do sing. I'm feeling part of everything, and all my troubles seem to fade away. And skies look brighter.
The hybrid for everyone is here. The Insight, designed and priced for us all from Honda.
Why are you in my yard?
Why are you in your yard? There's all sorts of super destinations. You could go to a jazz festival, stock car racing, ride a donkey in a canyon. You just gotta go. I got free Wi-Fi.
Karen was finally headed home. Make that the video store. If she had Netflix, she could keep her DVDs for as long as she wants. Take the drama out of renting.
Netflix, unlimited movies for $8.99 a month.
Races left when IndyCar returns to Versus. Sunday, July 26th at 5.
What you want, baby, I got it.
And what you need, and you know I got it.
Cricket Wireless gives everybody's wallet respect.
Ooh, your kisses. Sweeter than honey.
Because Cricket found the way to give unlimited talk, text, pics, and mobile web, plus our nationwide coverage for only $45 a month. With no contracts to sign or overages, it's America's most affordable 3G network. Just call 1-800-353-8486. Click on mycricket.com or get into a Cricket store. Come in now and get new web-capable phones starting at just $49.99. Now that's...
R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
Get all this for just $45 a month. So call 1-800-353-8486. Click or come in today. Get respect for your wallet. Cricket.
Well, don't forget, Bicycle Magazine stages you can't miss, and we're getting ever so close now to the heart of the Alps. That's where we'll be next Wednesday for stage 17, when we go from Bourg-Saint-Maurice to Le Grand Bournon. And the Col de la Colombière is just before the finish. It's the Colmar de Roseland right at the start, and because of that, join us at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time as we journey through the Alps. And looking out across the countryside, Team Astana are now on the front. Gregory Rast doing the lion's share at the pacemaking, trying to stop George Hincapie's quest today. Whether it was intended or not doesn't matter, but Hincapie at the moment is leading the Tour de France on the road. He's recouped all of his lost time. So Astana is in the group here. Right at the tail of this bunch of riders is Lance Armstrong and Alberto Contador. You can always pick Lance out. He's got those black Livestrong arm warmers on and a yellow and black racing helmet. He's riding a pretty nice bike there, and I can tell you, of course, it's made by Trek. It's the very latest Madonna. It made its debut here in the Tour de France, and we can now find out a bit more about it.
I'm here with Ben Coates from Trek, and he's going to walk us through Lance Armstrong's 2010 brand new Madonna.
This is the all-new Madone. It's debuting for the very first time here at the Tour de France. It's never been raced before. The public's seeing it for the first time here. And this bike is really an evolution of what we did with the new Madone in 2007. We took everything that we learned, we made it lighter, stiffer, and more vertically compliant. Some of the things we did to make that happen is we changed the tube shapes, which allowed us to manipulate the carbon a little bit differently, add more vertical compliance into the seat mass by making it round. We changed the whole design in the fork, straight blade with an asymmetrical steer tube, very stiff side to side, a little bit of flex fore aft for comfort. This bike also has the all-new Speed Trap Duo. This is an add-on to the bicycle that has the capability of pairing with any Amp Plus device, and it's a speed and cadence sensor. Also new here are the brand new Bontrager XXX Light wheels. Moving away from pairs spoked, we went to an evenly spoked wheel, which has allowed us to take a little bit of weight out of the rim, a little bit of weight out of the hub, makes it altogether a lighter weight package.
And with all this technology, as Lance would say, maybe it's at least just a little bit about the bike.
Gosh, don't you just love the synthetic appearance of the modern racing bicycle? There's a work of art by the local farmers here as they welcome the Tour 2009. And as we swing to the peloton, still at the front and riding that bike, by the way, there he is as the camera goes in on him. But oh, how nice of our French cameraman. There we are. That is Lance on his new Madone. Looks to be going pretty well today. Lance still sits in third place overall in the Tour, looking for 8 seconds to take over the yellow jersey. Team Columbia High Road all trying to break up the race. Mark Renshaw waving at camera, this brilliant Australian from Bathurst in New South Wales, who's the lead-out man for Mark Cavendish when it comes down to the finish. It's a question now. They're a bit handicapped here, aren't they, Paul? Because they can't chase the breakdown with George Hincapie likely to collect yellow.
Well, their team manager, Brian Homer, said they will not chase down the breakaway because they're in a situation where, yes, George Hincapie could be the new leader of this race with the situation if it was to stay as it is presently. However, I do think as we get closer to the finish, Phil, we will see 1 or 2 teams coming forward to chase. Team Astana are trying to keep it in a solid block between the 5 and 6 minute margin because they know that down towards the end AG2R will come forward to try and defend the yellow jersey, but they've had so much pressure on their shoulders, this French team, to defend since they took the lead on the road up to Arcalis.
Well, it's a week now since Ronaldo Nocentini got the maillot jaune. It's his first Tour as well, let's not forget that. We are heading now to the 3rd category climb of the Côte de Blamont, which will take us with 88 kilometers to go to the finish once we top over that.
Well, it's not too important for any of the riders in this leading breakaway because none of them have really got very many points in the King of the Mountains classification, which changed yesterday with the great comeback by Franco Pellizotti, who aggressively went out to get himself as many points as possible to take the overall lead in that race by just 3 points.
We are looking now at the peloton here, who are still trying to keep that breakaway in their gun sights. It's well over the 5:25, which George Hincapie was behind overnight. So Hincapie in the break is still the leader of the Tour on the road. But Gregory Rast here, the teammate of Armstrong and Contador, he is the pacemaker, the diesel engine, who sits at the front and is trying to limit that escape now. It's gone out to its biggest, 6 minutes 10 seconds. But they've still got this under control at the moment.
Well, it's a big, hard ask for Gregory Rast to do that pacemaking on the front. The rider in 2nd position there is the Kazakh rider on Team Astana, Dmitry Muravyev. And those 2 riders, the big strong men, they will be asked to set the pace, Phil, over probably 30 or 40 kilometers. Later on, then, it will be the turn of probably Yaroslav Popovic, and maybe he will be assisted by somebody like Haimar Zubeldia. But they have to be fairly careful in using up all of their ammunition on a stage like this, because tomorrow and the following days after the rest day are going to be when this Tour is decided. So they can't use all of their bullets now.
I went to bed last night reading the race manual and I thought, oh boy, I'm just glad I'm not riding in the Tour de France next week, because it is such a hard course. You'll see a lot of the Swiss flags flying today. We're on the climb, by the way, of the Côte de Blamont. It's a 2.5 kilometer 3rd category climb. It's not very steep, and nobody up here is affecting the destiny of the polka dot King of the Mountains jersey. That's become a real battle between Igor Martinez of Spain and Franco Pellizotti, the Italian. Pellizotti did a hush-off yesterday, and he got the jersey off Martinez, and Tor Hushoff got the green jersey off Mark Cavendish. Both battles will continue all the way to Paris, I think.
A little interesting story, anecdote there, Phil, concerning Mark Cavendish. In fact, Mark Cavendish crossed the finish line yesterday and went to the podium because he thought that he still had the lead in the green jersey points classification. He didn't realize and never realized that Thor Hushovd had got over the climb and caught back up to the main field to get himself some points.
It's absolutely. Hushovd's a strong boy. 6:12, we're nudging up. Another 6 seconds has been added in the last kilometre or so. Although, as I say, I think we've gone down to 6:11. There's even have 6 times champion of Russia on the front. All of the blue jerseys of Astana are keeping the pace up today, taking a lot of pressure off the yellow jerseys team, that's for sure. Armstrong and his brand new Trek Madon is looking cool. We'll take a break.
Y'all loving your McCafe experience? Good, because here's something else to love. Free McCafe Mondays at McDonald's. Enjoy a sweet, scintillating sample of chocolate bliss that'll leave you shivering for more, and you thought we couldn't get any cooler. Or warm your soul with a chocolate and coffee combo that'll send you to mocha heaven. Only thing better is that it's free. They give me the light, so I give you McCafe.
Every year, the staggering cost of water main breaks affects more than just our wallets. Flooding and traffic jams, as well as water waste and contamination, affect every aspect of our lives. Now is the time to focus our resources on building a stronger and better infrastructure. JM Eagle Plastic Pipe offers an innovative long-term solution. Virtually leak-proof and invulnerable to corrosion, JM Eagle Pipe maintains its quality and performance over time. That's the power of plastic. That's JM Eagle, building essentials for a better tomorrow.
First, I was afraid. I was petrified.
Kept thinking that each meeting meant
that I would have to fly.
But then I spent so many nights
reading emails way too long.
Then I grew strong.
Network video came along, and so I'm back.
No time to waste. Just click the mouse and get things done.
See people face to face.
I should have changed things long ago.
This technology saved the day.
More collaboration, less complication. That's the human network effect. Learn more at cisco.com/newways.
This is Testosterone Theater on Versus, and this is August. Sweaty, steamy August. Awesome sports flicks August. With Van Damme. Hiya. How'd he do that? Hiya. Oh no, he can't see. And Sunday Aggression with McScreamy. And Miss Steamy. Go back to the minors with Men in Lingerie. Makes you uncomfortable. Watch it anyway. It's Man Golf with Costner and Cheech. Swing in water, swing after swing. Why won't Cheech stop him? Watch it all on Testosterone Theater on Versus.
Performance Now is all about knowledge. Knowing you're driving the #1 selling car in its class. Knowing you're driving what Car and Driver named a 10 best for an unmatched 18th year in a row. And knowing that right now, BMW is offering exceptional programs to help you do so. Performance Now is the 3 Series. Visit your local BMW center today for a test drive.
If you think you've seen it all, think again. Watchmen Director's Cut Special Edition DVD, packed with 24 minutes of new footage.
Who murdered Hollis Mason?
It's The Watchmen you didn't see in theaters. Buy the Director's Cut on Blu-ray and DVD.
Right now, all over the country, Discover Card customers are getting 5% cashback bonus at the pump. Now more than ever, it pays to discover.
The beauty of the Doubs Department of France now as the riders head towards Besançon. From Colmar today, the rain for the moment has gone away again, both out on course and at the finishing line. The breakaway is hovering around 6 minutes. George Hincapie can't yet dream of a maillot jaune, but he's every right to go for it now because he's in this front group. There he is, ahead of the rider with the green band, Nicholas Roach, number 74. There he is, George Hincapie. And it's a big working group, this, and nobody else really is endangering the race lead behind. And it's Lance Armstrong Astana team who are trying to limit the escape. This is the top of the climb here as they come up the Côte de Blamont. And nobody really interested, but it's going to be the Cofidis rider Sébastien Minard, who goes over ahead of Gerald Cholik there in second place. But these boys have not scored in the King of the Mountains before, so there's really no point. They're more interested now in time and the big escape into Besançon. It could happen, you know. We're on the eve of the day into the first climbs in the Alps. Now, many of you may have heard overnight, we didn't know it at the time, but somebody went on the rampage with a pellet gun yesterday on the Col du Banstein, and they scored a direct hit on the New Zealand rider Julian Dean and Oscar Freire, the 3-time world champion. So we can learn more about that situation now by going to the start this morning and asking Julian Dean what happened.
Julian, we've seen a lot of wild things in bike races before. Nothing quite as wild as yesterday. Can you tell us exactly what happened and what your thoughts on that are?
Yeah, I mean, 160 kilometres into the race, we're just coming up the Category 3 climb there, and you know, I heard what sounded like some sort of like air rifle or something up to the right on the climb, and then I got hit in the finger at the time, and I thought it was like a stone or something coming up off one of the rider's tyres, and I didn't really think anything of it. And then a few K later, Oscar Freire said he had the same thing in his thigh, and made sort of the connection, and he had a pellet stuck in his thigh, and we made the connection that it was actually possibly someone with a BB gun or some sort of air rifle or on this up on the side of the road there when we went past.
Does it make you ever think about your safety out there on the roads?
I'm always thinking about my safety out there on the roads, you know. I mean, yesterday was you know, you're always thinking about your safety yesterday because the roads are wet, and but you know, it was, you know, I haven't been thinking too much about it. You know, I've got more racing to do today, so just been trying to focus on that.
More on that today. You have a ideal sprint finish for Tyler Freire, the last real stage for him until Paris. How important is this stage to you and Tyler, and how you guys going to ride today?
Yeah, we've been thinking a lot about today's stage. You know, it's going to be one of our last opportunities, so we want to try and make the most of that. You know, we're going to try a couple of different things coming in on the finish there, and you know, see if we can get over top of Columbia.
A lot of people think that there's going to be a breakaway today. Is it the sole responsibility of Columbia, or will you guys chip in and try to bring it back to a field sprint?
We're going to see how the race goes. We're going to play it by ear, and you know, we've got some plans, and you know, if we think we can have a sprint, we're going to try and have a sprint if that's going to be our best opportunity.
Thanks, Julian. Good luck today.
Yes, we're all compromised at the moment, aren't they? Yes, they've got Martin Mascamp for Garmin in the breakaway, but for Columbia, they've got George Hincapie, virtual yellow jersey on the road, so they're not going to chase anymore today. Garmin, if they want to win the stage, are going to have to whip up the pace. By the way, we were told just before we came on air today that the police have arrested some children for that shooting incident up on the climb. Well, I'm not sure whether the French interpretation of les enfants means teenagers or children, but that's what we heard as we came on air. The Breton flag in the background alongside the French flag. We're a long way from Brittany now, Paul, the complete opposite side of France, in fact, but they're great followers of the sport, as always. There's the packed peloton, 6:14. And maybe there'll be a little infighting now, which will favour George Hincapie in the escape.
Well, I think everybody would be extremely happy to see Hincapie grab the yellow jersey, because he's been around for an awful long time, Phil, a very popular bike rider with everyone else in the field. And all he needs to do is have the race stop with a 5-minute, 25-second advantage over the front end of the peloton, and he could be the new yellow jersey tonight. But it must be quite tough for Lance Armstrong, because as you mentioned earlier, Hincapie is the only bike rider to have accompanied Lance Armstrong in all 7 victories that he had between 1999 and 2005.
Difficult days. Lance said to us only 2 days ago, he talks to George every day, and he says, gosh, I wish I had him back on my squad. But he's not on his squad, he's on Team Columbia, and a rival American team at that, and he's ordered the boys to limit the escape of George. But I think sooner or later they're going to say to the yellow jersey team, hey, you want to keep yellow, you start chasing these guys. And the sprinters, well, it's up to Garmin, of course, and maybe Cervelo, but they're both compromised because they've got riders in the front group. This is a very interesting combination. Although we're 83 kilometres from the finish, I would feel pretty confident about this breakaway.
Well, I would too, and Team Cervelo are not going to chase either because they've got Hayden Royston in the leading group, and it's not an advantage for them either, Phil, to bring it back together and sprint out for the big points for the victory. 35, 30 and 26 for the first three riders to cross the line, because as far as they're concerned, if they bring it down to a big sprint, it's very difficult for anybody to beat Mark Cavendish in the charge at the line.
Which they're all very well aware of, and Mark knows no win today means no win till a week on Sunday, because it's the end of the flat roads. We're going mountaineering tomorrow to Verbier in Switzerland, where the tour's never been before, and then a rest day, and then we plough through the heart of the Alps for a couple of days, a time trial down at Annecy, and then we go up the Mont Ventoux. A massive week ahead. You mustn't miss any of it.
I tell you what, it's getting a bit grippy in the main field as well, because we're looking at Brian Van Borg's performance. His heart rate is creeping up to 144, which in itself is not that high, but his wattage has crept up to almost 370 watts, and that's an indication that the pressure is actually seriously on in this chase.
Well, as Hincapie dreams of yellow, he's had it once before, don't forget. He pulled it on for one day in 2006 when he was 31st in Paris in the end. He's had some good tours, George. We think of him as a faithful teammate. He's had some high finishes himself in the Tour de France. It's his 14th time he's ridden the event. He's going up into the annals of the history of the Tour as one of the highest participants of the event. Well, here they are, up over the top of the climb. And nobody really reacting there. They've still got work to do. Minard, Cholik, Maskamp was the order of the breakaway over the top. But their points don't really move them anywhere in the King of the Mountains competition. I think we're having a game of poker today, so how's your cards? And who's holding the best hand? The bluff continues. See you in a moment.
Kelly Saunders Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars. The taste nature intended.
% of all the vehicles we've ever sold in this country are still on the road. Now that's a long-term investment. Range Rover, the luxury that's more than a luxury. For special deals, visit a Land Rover Center today.
At the World Championships, it's not about wrapping yourself in newfound glory. It's about wrapping yourself in old glory.
Crank it up. The ultimate NASCAR pre-race party is only on Speed. NASCAR Race Day. Be there. You'll be in the middle of the action. Live with John Roberts, Jimmy Spencer, Kenny Wallace, and thousands of NASCAR's biggest fans. Be there. And get the inside track with live reports from Wendy Venturini.
Let's get to the stories at hand.
Don't miss NASCAR Race Day. Built by the Home Depot. All season long. NASCAR on Speed. Oh, yeah. Be there.
Michelle has had leukemia since she was 2. The Coleman twins were born 24 weeks premature. Max had his first surgery when he was 3 days old. These kids are alive today, and it's a real miracle. When your child needs help, there's a Children's Miracle Network hospital nearby. Go to childrensmiraclenetwork.org to support our hospitals helping local kids.
Torres. Unbeaten in 5 years. Can undefeated Brian Bowles pose a threat? Ask his last 7 victims. Torres versus Bowles. Live Sunday, August 9th. Only on Versus.
Welcome back, and let me remind you of some big stages coming up on Versus. Stage 15, we go from Pontarlier to Verbier tomorrow. It's live from 7:30 a.m. as we start to scale up the first mountains of the Alps. And the next day, well, we have a day off in between, but stage 16 on Tuesday will take us Martigny to Bourg-Saint-Maurice. That's coming to you live at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time, as we really do hit the high spots on that day. Well, what drives your inspiration? Have a look at this, presented by the Honda Insight. This is an interesting situation here as we look at what inspires you in the Tour de France. Is it travel, perhaps?
It's a tough sport, but it's a beautiful sport.
I was always into traveling and going places and seeing different things and climb mountains. And the reason why I got into biking was to explore and travel around. There's no better way to do it on a bike.
I do a lot of traveling, but I feel at home just about anywhere I set my feet down at.
It's, you know, every kind of terrain you can imagine. There's the classics in the north with cobblestones, wind and rain and cold. There's racing in the Alps in the Tour. It's beautiful. It's cool. It's just a sport that speaks to a lot of different people.
And that is your inspiration presented by the Honda Insight there. Let's go back to the live action. These are the riders from Astana who seem to have throttled back a little bit. They're chuckling away on the side of the road here, I think. These are the Highland creatures up here, the undulations of the Doubs. As the peloton rise by, crosswind blowing there as the riders will turn again here. Pick it up slightly tail for a little while. We're looking at Sergei Ivanov at the back of the breakaway. He wants a little bit of service from his team car, I would think, probably a drink. The gap is continuing to rise here, and quite rapidly, which is what we saw happen as they came over the top of the Côte de Blamont. The boys from Astana are still on the front, but as Paul Sherwen calls it, a false tempo. They're not really chasing at the moment. It's gone up to 7:14, the biggest lead we've had. If that gets through 10 minutes, then there could well be a new yellow jersey tonight, and it'll be on the shoulders of George Hincapie. I think the world will be quite pleased with that.
I don't think too many professionals at all would be upset with that, Phil, because everybody knows. As we look at the back here, it's Alberto Contador, hand in the air. He's calling up the team car, and I wonder what that's all about.
Well, we're focused on Alberto Contador at the moment. He's sitting at the back of the peloton. He's called for his Astana team. I think he just wants a drink. He might want a little discussion as well with Johan Bruneel, because his teammates are at the front of the race. They've definitely eased off, although they're still setting the pace. As you can see now, the gap has shot up. 77 kilometers to go, 7:14 the gap.
Well, I think Alberto Contador may well want to discuss some tactics with Johan Bruneel currently, and they realise they don't need to chase down that breakaway. But isn't it rather interesting, because Johan Bruneel for many, many years was the team manager of George Hincapie. He knows that rider probably better than any other team manager in the business, and that may well be why this man Alberto Contador is just a little bit concerned about having Hincapie in a big break like that.
Well, don't forget, George Hincapie was one of the last riders to fall away from Lance Armstrong when he rode on his team during his 7 Tour victories. He can climb if he's inspired enough. He even won a mountain stage in the Pyrenees. So he could be a leader that might hang on for a couple of days. I don't think he can push on and win the Tour de France, and that, I would think, is what Astana is thinking. But even so, he will be an interesting leader of the Tour, and another boost for Mark Cavendish's Columbia HTC team, because they are the most successful team of the last 2 years as far as victories go. And Mark Cavendish himself has won more races this year than any other cyclist during the season.
And we haven't got to the end of the year either, Phil, and I'm sure he's going to win a lot more. And he would be prepared to sacrifice a victory today if George Hincapie could grab the yellow.
You bet, absolutely. 76 kilometers then, as we look at these beautiful pictures. Remember, they're in high definition. If you're not enjoying them in high definition, check your local listing. But this is the Tour de France in its splendor today. We'll take another break as Alberto gets back on.
close to things you care about. Leave nothing to chance. Travelers, insurance for auto, home, and business.
My Impreza has a Subaru Boxer engine. It's perfectly balanced for performance and handling. I love that engine. And I love anyone else who loves a Subaru engine too.
Impreza love knows no bounds. Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Lease an Impreza for $179 per month or get 0% APR financing.
12 summers of boat hauling. 6 minutes to soccer practice. 63 miles of commuting daily. For any extreme, from the road to the racetrack, nothing beats Mobil 1, the official motor oil of NASCAR, and the choice of over half of all NASCAR teams. So put some NASCAR in your car with the One, Mobil 1.
Trish was relaxing on her Friday commute when she realized she forgot to pick up a movie. She needed to get to a video store fast, or all the good DVDs would be gone.
If Trish had Netflix, she could even watch some movies instantly on her TV.
Take the drama out of renting.
Netflix, DVDs by mail, plus some movies instantly on your TV. Only $8.99 a month.
Welcome back, and that's quite literally the case. We're at the back of the main field here, and this is Alberto Contador. He's just come from the back of the bunch to have a chat with Johan Brunel, the manager, to ask what is going on now, because it seems the Astana team have pulled back a little bit. Now, Johan speaks fluent Spanish. He lives in Madrid, and he's talking here to Contador in his own language. And I think he's just explaining that they're probably trying to ease that breakaway away, move George Hincapie into the yellow jersey and take all the pressure off themselves and apply it back to Nocentini's team. They probably feel they can deal with George Hincapie days 2 or 3 in the Alps. Look at this now. Lance is quite happy. He said, well, you know, come see, come say, I don't know, but who, me? I'm not chasing George. Who, me? Never. He helped me win 7 Tours de France. He's maybe on a rival team now. This is what you call lip reading, everybody. A little problem with my earpiece as well. Yes, I know that Contador's been back to talk to Johan Brunel. I don't think he will have told him he's the leader of the team, though, because that's me. Who knows? It's been a most intriguing tour within Astana, and they've not revealed a single playing card yet. Lance, though, there's one thing we do know. He's back to his race-winning ways of 2005. He's just as good at 37 years of age. Unthinkable, isn't it? He's so good, he's going to ride again next year. He'll be 38 then. Hello, Johan. Did you have a chat with Alberto? Well, there's the beauty of the views of the Doub as we now go back up to the leaders. Martin Mascant is on the right. Daniela Bonatti. Big George knows what could be on here. And it was never thought of, I don't believe, at the start of the day, but now it is. Starting the day 5 minutes 25 behind. The second best is Christophe Lemavelle. He started 6 minutes and 3 seconds behind. So George has got to keep a close eye on him not slipping away. Otherwise, the yellow jersey will go other ways. It's not over yet by any means, with 73 kilometers to go, of course. Well, our helicopter, I think it's in a helicopter. I can never tell these days. The pictures are so good, but I think it's a helicopter shot for that from the West Camp, looking across the fields of wheat. This is Hayden Royalston in his very first Tour de France, and he's in the breakaway today. Won his first prize of the Tour in Dannemarie at 67 kilometers. He won the sprint there for €800 and 6 points in the green jersey competition. But
green jersey points, the green jersey competition moving back to Thor Hushovd, and that's a battle that I think Thor Hushovd is going to try and increase his advantage of once we go through the mountain stages, because he knows on those mountain stages he's got much more chance than Mark Cavendish of getting points. I think in the group behind Phil, they've slowed down a fraction because the wattage of Chris Anker Sorensen has come down to inside of 200 watts, and his heart rate is a very restful 120.
Well, the wattage, of course, is caused by the more power they put into the machine by pedaling, the higher that wattage goes. Of course, it can indicate a tired man too as the wattage goes up. But at the moment, George Hincapie, almost a wry smile on his face at this most popular rider from the United States. 14 Tours de France. He's been ever so close. He's won one stage. He's worn yellow for one day, and he's might find himself dropping into it again today.
Well, that was 2006 when George Hincapie wore the yellow jersey, and it was because he finished second in the opening day prologue. He was so upset to have got so close to the yellow jersey. He was beaten to the line by Thor Hushovd, that the next day when they went out onto the first road stage, Hushovd, the much superior sprinter, was beaten to an intermediate time sprint by George Hincapie, who got himself 2 points, 2 seconds I should say, and then he leapt ahead of Thor Hushovd in the standings.
Well, no points, no seconds, rather bonus on the sprints this year, which is interesting. Gerard Cholik there with the champion of Germany bands on the cuffs of his racing jersey. Now, it's a nicer day today, so watch out for the chalkbot on the road today. That's all the writings. You go to wearyellow.com and write your message of courage and hope, and if yours is selected, you could see it spelled out on the streets of the Tour de France. It comes throughout every stage. You watch out, you should see it. That young man obviously has just realized the one he did has been put onto the road of the Tour de France. Back with the 12 leaders here. They were 13. Jens Voigt is not a happy Sandman. Down, he's gone back to the main field because he punctured, had an atrocious wheel change, and he couldn't catch up again. Mark Cavendish was in this too originally, but he fell back and went back to the bunch. He didn't fancy all day out front. Lance is happy enough. Maybe, maybe not.
The Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep Summer Clearance is here, and it's the best time to get some of the best deals. Get in now and get the Chrysler Town & Country with a generous cash allowance or 0% financing for 60 months. The trail-rated Jeep Grand Cherokee also comes with a cash allowance or 0% financing for 60 months. Or choose a hard-working all-new Dodge Ram truck with a cash allowance that's tough to beat. All with our best-in-the-business lifetime powertrain warranty. So hurry, come see the deals we've built for you at the Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep Summer Clearance.
This is just my uptown apartment. My downtown apartment is still being renovated to go green.
No way.
Yeah.
Need a moment?
Oh no! I've been robbed! Who would have done such a thing?
And they trashed your place.
That is what happened.
Oh, you poor thing.
It's really sad.
When you need a moment, chew it over with Twix.
Yes.
It basically took me the whole summer. And I don't know how many times I needed to go to AutoZone, but at least now when I go, it's not on my bike.
What gets you out running, walking, or doing what you really love to do? Let's rewind. You have your own motivations for being out there. Enjoy every second. The Boulder Running Company has what you need to make your experience even better. From free video gait analysis to a huge casual shoe selection to apparel and accessories. The Boulder Running Company. Boulder, Denver, Colorado Springs, and online at boulderrunningcompany.com.
For over 30 years, we've been actively involved in the community here at American Furniture Warehouse. Right now, there are 10 million people in the U.S. who have cancer. That's why it's great to know that there are places like City of Hope Cancer Center that are on fast track with research to find a cure. The National Home Furnishings industry has a long history of supporting City of Hope. This year, we raised thousands of dollars that'll go directly to the labs where cures will be found. Find out more at www.cityofhope.org. Thank you.
Now then, Road ID Tour Challenge, Map My Ride. Follow the world's best riders online with exclusive tour content at Versus.com. Plus, sign up for the Versus Road ID Tour Challenge, and you could win over 300 great prizes. They would include 3 bikes, one from Toyota, Cervelo, and Parley. The Tour de France at Versus.com, powered by MapMyRide.com. Astana are allowing the breakaway to run here, and the yellow jersey doesn't seem very concerned at the moment. George Hincapie's gone back to the team car. A word in the ear.
Exactly what the situation is.
Big George stretching himself at the back. Well, looking there at the clouds, they're still there, but the weather is a lot more pleasant than it was earlier today. This is the breakaway. The time gap is slowly rising. It's 12.25 minutes now, and this is beginning to look huge. The Astana riders are allowing it to run. As we look here, Dmitry Muravyev sitting at the front in a traditional, rather like a triathlon position there, leaning lazily on the bars and just pumping those legs up and down. Just shutting the pain out, of course. The average speed today, Paul, is quick, 42 kilometers an hour.
Yes, but in the first hour of racing, almost 50 kilometers an hour were covered. It slowed down a fraction in the second hour to just 40 kilometers, but it is a very fast day. Team Columbia HTC are in a great tactical position here because they've got George Hincapie in the breakaway vying for the overall lead. If anybody else wants to chase back, they've also got Mark Cavendish to take over and sprint out for the stage victory. They're going to have a very easy day on the eve of the big mountains.
12 minutes and 13 seconds. This is now beginning to look as though the sprinters may have missed out today. There is the man who is now beginning to get into a position with inside 70 kilometers to go of Dream of Yellow. He looks over at Albert Timmer there, who is also a good sprinter on the Skill Shimano team. First time tour for him. We must not forget that Hincapie himself can pack a punch in a sprint, although he may not worry about it today.
Well, in the early part of his career, we knew him as an exceptionally good sprinter. And just a quick anecdote about the riders in this leading group. Martin Maskant, who rides for Garmin Slipstream, he was brought into the race to replace Dan Martin. And Dan Martin's cousin is in the breakaway, Nicholas Roach.
That's right. Dan, we would love to have seen in. He rides for the American team, but he became sick before the tour started, and he was replaced literally in the last 48 hours by Martin Maskant, which is a shame. He is the cousin of Nicholas Roach, who has made that breakaway. He's on the leading team and the individual at the moment. Well, no, the leading team changed yesterday, went over to Saxo Bank, but he is on the leaders team, and so therefore he has a free ticket up in the breakaway. He's just sitting at the back doing absolutely nothing.
I think the computer was going a little bit loopy there, Phil, because the time gap went up to, it said 11 or 12 minutes, but all of a sudden it's just corrected itself back to the 8-minute mark. So that sounds a lot more logical.
It does. I must confess, I looked away and saw it go back up there, but I assumed it was correct. Well, that makes more sense. Around 8 minutes 4 seconds, 8 minutes 6. That's much more level-headed. Still, it's nearly a 3-minute lead for George Hincapie in the overall classification now. There's Jens Voigt, first left, as he comes through. Really upset he's not in that breakaway. He was still mumbling and grumbling to every rider who passed him in the peloton when he came back, saying what had happened.
Well, Cadel Evans also moving up there. A little bit of confusion on race radio to begin with in the early part of the race, because when that group of 14 riders went clear, they mentioned the name of Cadel Evans, and everyone in the commentary positions here started to panic and thought it was the big move by Cadel. I don't think he will make a move, though, Phil, until tomorrow, once we start to get onto the early slopes of the climb up to Verbier.
It's a real hair-pinning climb. It's not a major steep mountain to Verbier. It's a toughie, though, and we're still talking of seconds in the Tour de France. It twists and turns and kicks back as it S's its way right to Verbier, to the top. We have seen a stage of the Tour of Switzerland finish there, but this is the Tour de France first visit.
It's not a massive climb. It climbs up for about 8.5 kilometers at 7.5% in gradient, up to 1,500 meters.
Still looking there, Nicholas Roach, the ticket collector on the back. Second reminder, folks, versus.com/Ride of Your Life for the Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes. A chance to be with us on the Tour de France next year, and that'll be for 2 of you, or a chance to get a Cervelo S2 bicycle or a couple of the leaders' jerseys. Sign up today by using the code word CHASERS when you go online. Lovely blue fluffy clouds. This can't be the Tour de France of yesterday, thank heavens. This is the Tour de France heading to Besançon. The roads are still wet, but the rain for the moment has gone away. These people are enjoying the sight of the riders going by. It looks like they're going to have a bike race of their own. They're in the French national colours, and they've lined up exactly right. George Hincapie, as the kilometres are ticked off, 66 to go. I think he can start to think of yellow tonight. We'll take a break.
He's had a huge impact. He's taught me everything I know about the sport, so it's, I couldn't imagine being where I am without him. It's like a big brother to me.
It's right here. It's easy. It's the money you could be saving with Geico. It's right here. It's easy. It's the money you could be saving with Geico.
Welcome to the Now Network. Population 49 million. 145,000 teenagers are typing a text message at 70 words a minute. Average speed of their parents, 8. Right now, 90 high schoolers are shopping for new kicks on Zappos.com. None of them got game. 19,000 teenagers are flipping 354,000 burgers to get the new Samsung Exclaim. Just one of 4 IMing, texting, and twittering back-to-school phones you can get from Sprint, starting at $19.99. Sprint, the Now Network.
When golf's oldest major returns to historic Turnberry, Golf Channel will have it covered. The Open Championship. Follow Padraig Harrington's quest to three-peat at Turnberry against the world's best all week long during Live from the Open Championship on Golf Channel. Nobody covers golf's major championships like Golf Channel. Open Championship Week. All this week on Golf Channel.
Growing up in a family with my dad winning the Indy 500, you take some heat. There's really no sport like it. We're inches apart, wheel to wheel, and one touch, and you're gone. I did 19 last year, but it's kind of a crazy feeling. You got all these friends at college taking history exams, yet I'm sitting there going 230 miles an hour. It's a crazy lifestyle. That's how it goes.
Choosing a car is like trying on a dress. As soon as you slip into it, you know it's the one. But you still turn around to see the back. Because let's face it, you want them to hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Introducing the all-new Cadillac CTS Sport Wagon.
So, Katie kicked off the conference call, but we missed the first half trying to download the docs.
It's turned out to be the old new docs rather than the new docs. And Bob dialed in from home and his
dog starts. So Jen jumped in with her 2 cents.
Which
Katie missed because she was buying shoes online.
Then I hit mute to talk timelines with my team.
Getting lots of dirty looks through the phone in the process.
Overall, a great call. Great call.
Yeah.
Introducing a better way. Learn more at cisco.com/newways.
Welcome back to the Tour de France. Cheers all around. This guy must come with a suitcase of courage and a lot of equipment as well, by the look of it, as he's out on course today, and he doesn't know it probably, but he's cheering George Hincapie in here to possibly a yellow jersey tonight. He's on the left of the picture there. He rides for Columbia HTC in the white and yellow jersey. Here he comes as George now stamps on those pedals. Looking very cool indeed today. He's looking very confident. Gerald Cholik is the rider coming through at the moment, and then followed by Hayden Wollston, Marty Mascant, Daniela Bernati. Well, rather, even we get a bit lucky occasionally because we plan our features before the day, but George Hincapie is likely to be in yellow tonight, and we can take a further look at George Hincapie now in our Star Motorcycles Athlete Profile. and George Hincapie, after 10 years in the Tour de France, finally gets a victory, and he cannot believe it.
Obviously, George brings a lot of experience. He's a damn good bike rider. The hardest day of my life was the day he won the Tour de France. The results from the team in the younger generation, a big part of the success goes to George because, you know, he teaches you, you know, he goes, guys, this is the way to do it.
Well, I think my experience brings a lot of value to this team. I think the guys really respect me, and they really look to me in these high-pressure moments during the race that we all have day in and day out. They look to me to make quick decisions on the road, or if we're leading the Tour de France like we were last year, who has more experience in that than I do. So I played a big role in that. It's a big honor for me, and you know, these young kids on these teams are the best in the world. They're the best sprinters in the world, best climbers, and they love to have fun, which is great for me to see. Which makes cycling that much easier and makes the days go by quicker.
He's had a huge impact. He's taught me everything I know about the sport, so I couldn't imagine being where I am without him. It's like a big brother to me.
I think that's also one of the riders I have the most respect from. I mean, he's so many years in cycling, and he's so relaxed. He always has an answer on your questions, and he's the real leader of the team.
This is my 16th season as a professional. I think if you would have asked me 3 years ago how many more years would I do, I'd probably say I'd be done after this year. But I've had so much fun on this team, and I really enjoy the enthusiasm from the riders on this team. That it doesn't seem that hard anymore. It makes the time away from home that much easier. And I really look forward to seeing all the guys on the team, and I think that's going to keep me racing for a little bit more.
George really is the captain on the roads. He guides everybody along. That was our Star Motorcycles athlete profile. But, you know, tonight he could be in yellow. He's 36 now. He's just on a year younger than Lance Armstrong, so there's no time to think of giving up yet, George. You've got to ride again next year and join the legend of the Tour de France. He'll be his 15th Tour next year. We call him an all-rounder. He can sprint, he can climb well on his good days, and as we've seen now, he knows how to work out a good tactic or two. He's in the breakaway, and there's a real chance he will be in yellow jersey tonight. Beautiful views as we sweep out across the department of the Doubs, down on that long straight road, which if the break was close would not be a good road, but they're not close at all at the moment. The peloton is 8 minutes and 40 seconds back of the 12 leaders. Two of those riders at the moment are sitting first and second in the overall classification.
Well, Phil, the other day we were talking about how do you get a successful breakaway, what constitutes a successful breakaway, and I've always said if you allow breakaway 4 or 5 riders to get clear on a stage like this, they're always that much easier to pull back into the fold. But once you get a group of 10 or 12 riders, as we've got formed at the front here, it's very difficult to pull them back because you've got a lot of strong men, and 11 of those 12 men in that leading group of 12 are contributing to the pacemaking.
Yep.
And that makes me wonder whether or not they're going to have any chance at all of being pulled back before the finish.
And of those 12 riders, of course, 10 of them are on, well, 11 are on different teams. One's not helping, that's the AG2R rider, Nicholas Roach. But there's an awful lot of teams, no reason to chase now. And again, Gregory Rast for Team Astana, looking as though he's lifting the pace. Watch the clock, it'll start to go down if he is. At the moment it's still notching up, it's on to 8 minutes 33. They won't be too happy if they give George Hincapie too much of a head. Just now he is 3 minutes to the good in the yellow jersey. They can probably handle that in the mountains, but you never know.
Well, you don't know. I mean, we all know that in the past George Hincapie has been a very good climber. He's climbed alongside Lance Armstrong. He's paced Lance Armstrong on many of the mountain passes, and that's probably why they're a little concerned about Hincapie, who has got great form. We've seen the way he's been leading out the sprints for Mark Cavendish. Now all of a sudden, if you put him into the yellow jersey going into the mountains, he could be a changed rider and be very difficult to get rid of.
Well, as evidenced by Rinaldo Nocentini, he's been in yellow for a week, and everybody said he would lose it the next day. No such chance. He's held it for a week. He's losing it today at the moment, though. Thomas Voigtler here has dropped back. Just sits off the back. He won into Perpignan, remember, and that was a great victory for the French. They've had 3 stage wins so far. Hinted at a few more, but it hasn't worked out yet. Germany got their first yesterday with Heinrich Hausler, Australia claiming that one simply because he was born in Australia. 8 minutes 35. That's the best, George. Take a good look. Yes, it means you're the leader of the Tour de France by 3 minutes and 10 seconds right now. It could be Christmas coming early tonight when we get down to Besançon for the Columbia HTC boys. That's unless Team Astana spoil the day.
Kelly Saunders Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars. The taste nature intended.
During the Autobahn for All event, you can get great lease deals. I love it. I just want to know it's the right move. Me? 13 days in the future. Listen, you get a deal on a car you've always wanted, scheduled maintenance is included, it's all good. What's the future like? You love your new Jetta. And the suit? You like it? Nah, I love it.
Now during the Autobahn for All event, lease a 2009 Jetta S for just $179 a month. Hurry in before your future Volkswagen is history.
At the World Championships, it's not about wrapping yourself in newfound glory. It's about wrapping yourself in old glory.
Ahoy, mateys! Nickelodeon SpongeBob SquarePants is dropping anchor in your town, and he can't wait to meet you! You'll have a chance to say hello, take a picture, or just fluff around with your favorite porous pal. You can soak up every second when you meet SpongeBob. It'll be a seaworthy experience that you're sure to remember.
College Invest invites you to meet SpongeBob SquarePants at their booth at Kidspree on July 18th from 1 to 3 at Bicentennial Park. Presented by College Invest, your college financing resource.
Jesse James is coming to Spike, and each week he'll face a new challenge that could kill him. When flesh and bone meet fuel and metal, anything can happen. Jesse James is a dead man. Sundays, 10, 9 Central on Spike.
Good Times is leading the fight against tiny value burger syndrome.
This full-size, all-natural, fresh Angus Beef Deluxe Burger is just $1.99.
And this full-size Good Times spicy chicken tender sandwich, $1.99.
This could wipe out TVBS.
Let's take a look at the U.S. Postal Service American overall standing. Sadly, we lost Levi Leipheimer, who's had a successful operation on his broken wrist. He's now heading home today to Santa Rosa. Armstrong is best placed in third, 8 seconds off the lead. Van der Velde, last year's fourth place finisher, sits in seventh. Hincapie in the breakaway might be in one tonight, but he's currently in 28, 5:25 away. Zabriskie, Tyler Farrell, the sprinter, is in the bunch and trapped right now because of this breakaway. He was hoping to win today, and Danny Pate there. So there we see where the American riders stand in the race. We're all sorry to see the back of Levi Leipheimer, but not half as much as Levi was. Devastated was an understatement. But he'll be watching this on Versus television from tonight, I would think, after he gets in, as the race now starts to wind its way down to the start of the Alps tomorrow. Gregory Rast is a strange shape, Gregory Rast, isn't he, Paul? He seems to have those thin legs and a huge chest.
He's a massive bike rider. He's a tough guy as well, because a little bit of a nature stop at the side, and that should give the advantage once again to the leading group of 12 to increase their time gap over the next few kilometers. Rast, though, Phil, is a former Swiss national champion. And strangely enough, it doesn't come as any surprise at all to see that over the last 10 minutes, our computer is telling us that Team Astana have done 100% of the workload.
I think you could make that the last hour.
Yeah, probably.
8 minutes 14. It has reversed a little bit, coming back to 8:14. 56 kilometers to go. So it's not a done deal at all. I think it's a done deal personally that the front group will stay away, but it's the time that will give George yellow or not.
Well, I'm actually feel quite glad that we've got that computer to tell us that Team Astana have done all of the pacemaking for the last 10 minutes.
Sebastian Minard, there's the rider in red for Cofidis, right at the back at the moment. This is Hayden Rolston at the front for New Zealand, and there are 2 New Zealand riders in the race. The other one is Julian Dean. He's the lead-out man for Tyler Farrar in the Garmin Slipstream team, and he was hoping to lead him to victory today, but the victims of the peloton, these boys are clear by 8 minutes and 13. This is Albert Timmer here from Skilled Shimano. I believe he can sprint. It's his first Tour de France.
Well, the big problem that the main field had was allowing a breakaway of such a big size to get clear off the front end of the main field, and with so many different teams represented, you know, 11 teams are represented in the 12 riders in this leading breakaway, and that means there's very few groups in the group behind prepared to come forward and assist either Astana or Team AG2R.
And nobody's going to help them, because they feel if they do chase it back, then Mark Cavendish will win anyway. So Mark himself is going to feel a little bit frustrated, but George Hincapie is usually Mark's roommate in the hotels, and George looks after Mark. It's like Dad looks after his son, and he'll be only too happy if he's looking at a yellow jersey at the end of the bed of his mate George Hincapie tonight. It will be a very successful and a very nice feeling.
Well, it's a great team as well. It's a team that's got a fantastic spirit, and it really is one of those spirits which is all for one and one for all. And whenever Mark Cavendish has got himself across the line in first place, he never talks about me getting the victory. He talks about the team. He talks about the great job of work that Mark Renshaw did, that George Hincapie did, that Bernard Eisel has done. He always turns his victory celebration around to be a team celebration, and that, I think, is the sign of a real true champion.
It is a great team. There are riders that they couldn't make the 9 men to ride the Tour, quite capable of it, of course, but only 9 can ride in the Tour de France team. And if they were on a weaker team, they would have walked into the selection. But they're back home or riding other races around the world. The Tour of Austria has just finished, for example. There's now the Tour of the Shanghai Lake just started in China. As we're looking down here now, just the steady tempo, and I'm a little bit surprised and perhaps a little bit disappointed that the yellow jersey has not sent his team to the front to drive this and try and reduce it and keep yellow for another day, but he hasn't at the moment, not Centini. This is Sergei Ivanov. He would be, for me, the winner of the day if it comes down to it. He'd be thinking how he can do it. He's a very strong rider, and he's an opportunist cyclist. Look, he nipped away there. Now he said, I better wait for them. 8 minutes 11 now. We're in the town of Clerval here now, and Sergei Ivanov in those red shorts just pulled off the front. George Hincapie edging them along here. He's still over 3 minutes to the good in the yellow jersey on the road, and he wants to drag these boys through for the last 53 kilometers. Nicholas Roach at the back is sitting at the back. He's on the team leaders team, so he's not going to help at all.
Well, of the riders in this leading breakaway, Phil, 3 riders have won stages in the past. Daniele Bernati won 2 stages back in 2007. Hincapie, we know, got that magical win at the summit of the Pla d'Adet, but he's also been a winner of 3 team time trials in the Tour de France over his participations. And of course, I remember a long time ago, the man you were just talking about, Sergei Ivanov, he got himself a lone victory on the road down to Aix-les-Bains.
So 3 out of the 12 who are in this breakaway know what victory is like. George even knows what it's like to wear yellow. He did it for 1 day. And he was on the same team as Lance Armstrong, but wasn't Astana then, of course, back in the 2005. I have to think for a moment there.
He rode with George in 2005, but it was 2006, after Armstrong had retired, that George got himself the yellow jersey.
I thought, well done, Paul. 8 minutes and 6 seconds is the latest time coming at us. The peloton are having to dance now, but I don't know whether they can tiptoe all the way up to George Hincapie. We'll take a break. Rejoin us.
Let's all paint the town red and white, black and brown. Watch the colors dry. They mix so well, it's no surprise. We are all in this together. Let's all build a
delivered for everyone is here. The Insight, designed and priced for us all, from Honda.
This weekend, Lumber Liquidators prices will get even lower, online or in-store. Use our savings coupons to increase the savings on your new floor. Bellawood Golden Teak Solid Hardwood Flooring for $2.99 a square foot. Use your coupon and save even more. All Supreme Bamboo Flooring just $1.99 a square foot. Save more with your coupon. Get your coupons in-store or online at lumberliquidators.com. For the best deals on hardwood floors, visit any location, lumberliquidators.com, or call 1-800-HARDWOOD.
Nanomolecular what? A force field that prevents sludge.
Tired of the claims? Get a guarantee. Only Valvoline guarantees your engine up to 300,000 miles. Get Valvoline. Get guaranteed.
Someone's picking off costumed heroes. What do you suggest we do about it? Retribution. Evil must be punished. God help us all.
Watchmen. Buy it on Blu-ray and DVD Tuesday.
Tough. Ain't that $2 steak?
Y'all loving your McCafe experience? Good, because here's something else to love. Free McCafe Mondays at McDonald's. Enjoy a sweet, scintillating sample of chocolate bliss that'll leave you shivering for more, and you thought we couldn't get any cooler. Or warm your soul with a chocolate and coffee combo that'll send you to mocha heaven. Only thing better is that it's free. They give me the light, so I give you McCafe.
And as a Progressive customer, you get to use any of our concierge claim centers.
So I can just drop off my car and you'll take care of everything?
Yep, even the rental.
What if I'm stuck at the office?
If you can't come to us, we'll come to you in one of our immediate response vehicles.
What if Mother won't let me drive?
Then you probably wouldn't have had an accident in the first place. And we're walking, and we're walking.
Making it all a bit easier. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today.
Welcome back. The peloton still being escorted through France by Team Astana, while George Hincapie's a dozen riders up front are still in a race-winning position. 124 miles total distance today. These beautiful high-definition pictures coming to you, and if you can't see them on your television, then check your listings as to how you can pull in high definition. Well, as we look down, we did say that 3 of the riders in the breakaway have won stages. That means 9 of them haven't. But, you know, these guys sit at home dreaming one day of winning stages. When they do win stages, they plan exactly how they are going to salute the crowd. So take a look at some of these most interesting finishing gestures by the lucky men who've won stages in the Tour de France.
The celebration is, you know, it's an act of emotion from any individual crosses the line first, and I think for sure that means it's going to be special to each individual.
I think one of the most memorable victory salutes was when Johan Museo won Paris-Roubaix after his hard-fought comeback. He pointed to his knee, which he had the injury with.
One of my favorite victory salutes was when Carlos Sastre put the binky in his mouth.
When Lance won the stage in '95, and he was saluting Casartelli, and he passed away, unfortunately. But when Lance won that stage after that, I thought that was really special.
For me personally, the first one that comes to mind is George winning the Tour stage, because I've seen it so many times. Sheer surprise of, you know, overwhelmed with how happy he was at that moment.
I had the pleasure of riding the Chevron. Always liked the salute he had. He literally just lift one finger over his head, and as if he was #1 on that day.
The one I do is got to be my favorite, of course, for my own reasons, but getting both hands out there and the chest out as far as possible is always the best.
A lot of guys, they raise their arms up. I would love to be able to do that one, but I broke my shoulder in high school wrestling, so I'd be like this, be a little crooked, maybe go like that, raise the roof. I don't know. I'm into fishing, so I could always do the fishing one, you know. I know they've done that already, though, so it wouldn't work.
We have a new guy on our team, or a young guy, I should say, and he's coming up, Chris Anker Sorensen, and he, I guess he won a stage in the Dauphiné last year, and he's got his own signature salute now. He's the fisherman, because we call him the Anchor. He's Chris Anker Sorensen. So he reeled in the victory, and I thought that was good.
if I make 100 wins in my career, I've got a special win made for a special celebration that I'm going to do for that win.
Well, already we've seen Cavendish in action on the telephone here to his brand new sponsor. He promised he'd make a call to them if he won a stage, and he did it in the green jersey. When he wasn't in the green jersey, he pointed at his glasses saying, "I want this jersey back," and it came the next day. They think every minute of their lives, these boys, and they enjoy the moments of success in a race such as the Tour de France. My favourite's Carlos Sastre when he won at Benasque, putting that dummy in his mouth, celebrating the family. Well, we're looking down on the Tour de France. Somebody's going to give us something special at the end of the day. I wonder if it'll be George Hincapie pointing at a yellow jersey. He already wears a yellow one of sorts, doesn't he, for Columbia HTC. Beautiful scenery, Paul, as we continue to zigzag here across the Doubs. I think it's the Doubs anyway. As they make a left turn, it is the Doubs, but we're in the area here. It's 453 kilometres long, so not as long as many French rivers, but it links up the Rhine, I do believe.
It is one of the sub-tributaries of the Rhine. That's via the Saône. The river itself, it has its source near the Swiss border, way up in one of the glaciers up there.
Well, we'll be there tomorrow. We'll check it out for you. We're going into Switzerland to the finish, first time ever for the Tour de France at Verbier. It is quite a climb up to the finish, not the steepest climb that we're going to go over next week, but enough to sort out a matter of seconds, which is all the top three are separated by. Although they might be a couple of minutes behind George Hincapie if it holds on to 8:21 at the moment.
Well, if we stop the race now, George Hincapie would have just inside of a 3-minute overall lead over the main contenders, but he wouldn't have that much of a lead over Christophe Lemaivel. That would be about a 1.5-minute lead over the Frenchman. Looking down over at the Doubs there to the left-hand side, it really is a magnificent valley that the race is coming through here this afternoon. And I wonder if the reticence to do any pace-making by the other teams at the front end of the field, Phil, is because they know what is on the agenda, what's on the menu for tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first big mountaintop finish that we've had since we came away from the Pyrenees. It's something we've been waiting for, it's something we've been talking about, and that's maybe why some of the teams want to hold back and not try too hard today.
Incidentally, Paul, the River Doubs has its source in Mout, near the Swiss borders, and Mout is reputed to be the coldest place in France in the winter. George Hincapie just doing what he does best, races his bike and keeps control. He's watching everything. He's like a hawk sitting on a tree here, deciding when he should go down and pick up the little mouse running below. There we go. As he races on, still thinking of yellow, the peloton still continue to be escorted by his old mate, Lance Armstrong's team. See you in a moment.
The Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep Summer Clearance is here, and it's the best time to get some of the best deals. Get in now and get the Chrysler Town & Country with a generous cash allowance or 0% financing for 60 months. The trail-rated Jeep Grand Cherokee also comes with a cash allowance or 0% financing for 60 months. Or choose a hard-working all-new Dodge Ram truck with a cash allowance that's tough to beat. All with our best-in-the-business lifetime powertrain warranty. So hurry, come see the deals we've built for you at the Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep Summer Clearance.
12 summers of boat hauling, 6 minutes to soccer practice, 63 miles of commuting daily. For any extreme, from the road to the racetrack, nothing beats Mobil 1, the official motor oil of NASCAR, and the choice of over half of all NASCAR teams. So put some NASCAR in your car with the One, Mobil 1.
The fun is back, and your luck is changing. A new kind of action, a different kind of excitement. And it all adds up to real good times. Lady Luck is the newest and hottest casino to hit Blackhawk. Check us out for your chance to win big. Only 35 miles from downtown Denver. So get on board. Lady Luck Blackhawk. See you soon.
At First Bank, we do not clone nor endorse the cloning of U.S. currency. Would be against international law and a breach of banking ethics. The $50 you receive upon opening a free checking account is real money and has not been duplicated in a covert genetics laboratory. So at your earliest convenience, go to First Bank or visit us online and get $50 that has never been cloned.
Well, see, in the green jersey, let's look how they stand. They're not in the breakaway, but there's still points, of course, to be had from the peloton. 205 plays 200. So if Cavendish were to finish 6 places in front of Thor Hushovd in the bunch sprint today, he will get back that green jersey. So we are going to be treated to a shoulder-to-shoulder battle anyway, even though we do have 12 riders away. Now, at the moment, the gap is big enough to give George Hincapie yellow, and also Christophe Lemervel would be in second place. The two with the most to gain, that's Hayden Royston from New Zealand. No New Zealanders ever won a stage in the Tour de France. Maybe today. Now just looking down there again as we follow the Doub here. And we'll see it go through the centre of Besançon today as the riders will race right alongside the shoulders of it in the last 2 kilometres of the day. Good sprint finish today, even if it isn't going to be for a sprinter.
And there's a nice lock, Phil. Surely you can tell me something about that canal.
Oh, it's a canal. It's part of the canal. Is the road? It'll be the Rhine.
It's the Rhine canal.
I thought it was the Doub, but of course it's part of it. It's canalised in places.
Yep, and it links the Rhone and the Rhine, this part of the world, from Montbéliard right the way through to Dole,
where it becomes the Doub again. 5,000 metres. Oh, it's 5 kilometres. I wonder why they put 1,000 metres, Paul. 5 kilometres is so much easier, like they do in the mountains. 5,000 metres then to Baume-les-Dames, and that takes us into the last 38 kilometres of racing today.
Dmitry Konishev there just talking to his young protege.
Can you remember what he was famous for in the Tour de France?
I think he was the first Russian to win a stage in the Tour de France, and that would be in Pau. And he also was the first Russian to wear the King of the Mountains jersey in the Tour de France. Anything else?
When you pass all these test questions.
I'm trying.
Also, what else did he do in the World Championships?
He finished second to Greg LeMond.
And that was?
The first time a Russian that got a silver medal.
In a professional race. OK, we give up. We're too good. Back to the action. George Hincapie then continues on here. 7 minutes 50 seconds the gap. So it's come down a little bit. It is falling now, and it's falling a little bit too rapidly, actually. There's the peloton. That all of a sudden they are in angry mood here. They are driving. I suspect that we're going to see Team AG2R on the front of it now, and we get a chance to look at the front of the pack. So it's not yet going to be sunshine and roses for George Hincapie. If it drops to 5:25, of course, he won't be wearing yellow tonight, and he better start thinking of winning the stage then. 7:47 at the moment. Well, as we look at the breakaway here, 7:47 on our screen, but the blackboard man at the front is showing 8 minutes exactly, but of course he's travelled fourth from the back, so I'm not too sure that is quite as accurate as what we're seeing. Only 41 kilometres to go, a shade over 25 miles. They'll do that well inside the hour.
Well, the trend is that the gap is starting to come down. It's because finally Team AG2R have come to the front end of the main field, and they've taken responsibility of the chase. They will have a goal now, Phil, in the back of their minds, and that is to pull that gap down to 5 minutes 25 or less, and then they will know that their man Rinaldo Nocentini has managed to conserve his lead in the yellow jersey race. But there will still be a race, despite the fact that there are 12 riders in front. There will still be a race for the green jersey, because there are still points available from 13th place down to 25th place. So Mark Cavendish and Thor Hushovd still have to battle for the minor places on the day to try and either keep the lead for Thor Hushovd or to grab it back for Mark Cavendish.
Well, there's the River Doub, and it is locked off there, so there's the way round the corner. Just take your boat into the lock. This is the canalised section, which is the Rhone-Rhine Canal. As we're watching the peloton really moving here now, they really are. as they continue to charge now. We're going to see this time gap come down. It's going to be touch and go now, I think. There's the French flags flying. The peloton are picking up a little bit of a tailwind at the moment, and that's causing a favourable reaction. And as we watch here the peloton, let me remind you the Tour de France on Versus, and you can head to versus.com for live updates, fan chat, rider info, and even Lance Armstrong's own video blog, I beg your pardon, Lance. From time trials, the grueling climb up Mont Ventoux is the penultimate climb of the Tour, penultimate day of the Tour. Versus.com has you covered with the Tour's totally interactive experience. You get it all on Versus.com. Even my family are watching in Britain on Versus.com. Can you believe that? As we're now watching the riders here bunch up a little bit, so maybe, but it looks as though the team on the front is driving that right now. You see by the flags it's been a slight crosswind. It's almost crossed ahead again as they swing round that corner, so that might slow them down a little bit. George Hincapie living a little bit on a wing and a prayer just now. Is he in yellow tonight or not? We'll take a break.
Every race is a battle, measured in fractions of a second, fought with a philosophy we call system integration, an approach to engineering where every motion of every rider, of every Super Six, is channeled into forward motion to maximize performance. Let the battle begin.
The relationship you have with your car isn't so different from your other relationships. Some burn hot and fast, but don't last very long. Some burn for a while, but don't throw much heat. And some smolder beautifully for a long time.
The award-winning Cadillac CTS sedan. And coming soon, the all-new CTS Sport Wagon.
Well, I was shopping for a new car. Which one's me? A cool convertible or an SUV? Too bad I didn't know my credit was whack, cause now I'm driving off the lot in a used subcompact. F-R-E-E, that spells free. Creditreport.com, baby. Saw their ads on my TV. Thought about going but was too lazy. Now instead of looking fly and rolling fat, my legs are sticking to the vinyl and my posse's getting laughed at. F-R-E-E, that spells free. Creditreport.com, baby. Offer applies with enrollment and triple advantage.
If you think all batteries are the same, consider this. When a tornado tore through Holly, Colorado, Air Life Denver took to the air. Their night vision goggles keeping them safe on a perilous flight. And powering those precision goggles is the only battery Air Life trusts. Duracell, trusted everywhere.
Look for new Duracell Ultra Advanced, now with even more power to protect.
Yes, every day the Tour de France tells us a new story. There's been some interesting images today. A 30-man breakaway formed, 166 kilometres to go. Jens Voigt punctures, bad change, back to the peloton for him. Hincapie gains the time that gives him the virtual yellow jersey, and the leaders now are 7:29 ahead of the peloton. There are 12 of them, and the situation is George is still in the yellow. Well, we're all thinking now, is George going to get the yellow jersey? It's going to be touch and go now because Team AG2R suddenly realised they've got to chase Paul, otherwise they're going to give him the yellow jersey.
They left all of the pacemaking up to Team Astana for a long time, who kept it in a reasonable gap between the 7 and 8 minutes, and then all of a sudden, once they saw that Team Astana was starting to turn off, they came to the front and took over the responsibility. But what they have to do now over the next 37 kilometres is take 2 minutes off the lead of these 12 riders, and then that would put Nocentini back into the overall lead.
Exactly 2 minutes right now as well, because George needs to win with 5:26 and he will get the yellow jersey. After that, it's a bonus, I reckon. Pace making just being done there by Frederick Willems of the Liquigas squad. They're on a bit of a drag here. It looks as though they've slowed down, but it is actually quite a nasty little drag just now with these riders here. At the back is Albert Timmis of the Skill Shimano team. Like Cervelo, it's a wild card team. Obviously, Cervelo got in because they've got Carlos Sastre, last year's winner of the Tour de France. But as they continue here, there's no official climb here, but it's turning out to be a little drag at least as the riders are coming through with all the teams represented by those team cars behind. Just 36.7 kilometers left to ride today. 7 minutes 25. That means George Hincapie, behind by 5:25 this morning, is still 2 minutes to the good. As they tick off, we're running down the side of what is really an extension of the River Doubs, the Rhone-Rhine Canal here. The peloton are hunting now for George. It's a question of whether they'll catch him.
Well, there's a lot of pressure in the main field now, Phil, because just checking in with Brian Van Borg, his heart rate has gone up to 150 beats a minute, so he's getting up to around about 75% of his maximum. But his wattage is really quite interesting because he's tickling almost 500 watts, 488 watts to be precise. That is some serious output of energy.
Well, that means that the pressure's gone on. There's no doubt about that. And it looks as though the yellow jersey gambled a little bit to see if anybody else would chase. And the answer was no. So he's going to have to bring his team up himself. We'll see now if there is a reaction that ends the, so far, perfect day for George Hincapie. In the sprint there, it went routinely to Royston, Minard and Bernardi. So Hayden Royston has had 2 sprint wins today out on course. He can sprint. I know these haven't been, to say the least, hotly contested.
You've been thrown out
thing at the finish.
You've been thrown out a few questions to me, Phil, about the history of the sport. And I was just trying to cast my mind back to the Amgen Tour of California, when, in fact, Hayden Royston finished second on the stage. I think it was to the Rose Bowl at Pasadena. Do you remember who won the stage?
No.
Rinaldo Nocentini.
Who was it?
Rinaldo Nocentini.
You're absolutely right. There was this year you're talking about.
This year.
That's right.
Not last year.
Down at the Rose Bowl of Pasadena. Much better weather than the previous year when it rained.
Absolutely.
Yes, well, Nocentini might be spoiling a perfect day for New Zealand as well, but I don't think they're going to catch the breakaway, so Hayden will be free to sprint for first place when we get down to the finish. 35.7. They're not going to close 7.25 minutes, I don't think, in 35 kilometers, but they might close 2.
Well, you chance to see the average speed here, 26 miles an hour, 42 kilometers an hour, and that has been after a very rapid start when the riders, in fact, covered almost 31 miles in the first hour of racing. AG2 are under serious pressure now. They are doing a good job. They're starting to reduce that advantage of the 12-man breakaway, but they have a goal. They have to bring it down to inside of 5 minutes and 25 seconds. If they don't attain that goal, then George Hincapie will be the new leader of the Tour de France tonight.
Well, we're deep into the area of the Doubs now as these riders continue to search for a new leader in the Tour de France. We've been unchanged, not just with the leader, but with the top 20 riders overall, apart from the loss of Levi Leipheimer, who didn't start yesterday with his broken wrist. Everybody stayed in the same position for a week because they've all been afraid of what's round the corner, literally tomorrow in the Alps itself. Town of Roulans here as we look for the Chateau du Petit Roulant. Very nice it is too, and what it commands a beautiful view.
Hincapie's making a move here.
Well, this is interesting. He's heard the reaction back in the field. He's trying to thin the breakdown here because he's got too many passengers now. And he knows now that he is racing for yellow, and he's going to get a bit desperate. Only 1.5 minutes in yellow now.
Well, Mascan came across the gap very quickly there. A rider I can expect to improve dramatically over the next couple of years. Hayden Royston was the other rider, comes straight across the gap, and they're now being nailed back by Frederick Willems in the lime green jersey of Liquigas. Hincapie is trying to keep the organization in this leading group, Phil. He knows how fast the main field can go behind, and he's just trying to keep them organized to try and keep that dream of a yellow jersey going.
Absolutely right. What he ideally would like to do is get 3 or 4 of them who are strong and are prepared to ride to the finish and give George a hand. And I think he'd sacrifice the stage win because he would have yellow. Looking down on the town there of Baume-les-Dames as the peloton themselves go through, 7 minutes behind the leaders. Well, there's the town of Beaume-les-Dames as the leading 12 riders still hanging on to 7 minutes and a single second. Well, we'll take another break and ask the question, whose life will change today?
Y'all loving your McCafe experience? Good, because here's something else to love. Free McCafe Mondays at McDonald's. Enjoy a sweet, scintillating sample of chocolate bliss that'll leave you shivering for more, and you thought we couldn't get any cooler. Or warm your soul with a chocolate and coffee combo that'll send you to mocha heaven. Only thing better is that it's free. They give me the light, so I give you McCafe.
This weekend, Lumber Liquidators prices will get even lower, online or in-store. Use our savings coupons to increase the savings on your new floor. Bellawood Golden Teak Solid Hardwood Flooring for $2.99 a square foot. Use your coupon and save even more. All Supreme Bamboo Flooring just $1.99 a square foot. Save more with your coupon. Get your coupons in-store or online at lumberliquidators.com. For the best deals on hardwood floors, visit any location, lumberliquidators.com, or call 1-800-HARDWOOD.
My Impreza has a Subaru Boxer engine. It's perfectly balanced for performance and handling. I love that engine. And I love anyone else who loves a Subaru engine too.
Impreza love knows no bounds. Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Lease an Impreza for $179 per month or get 0% APR.
Argosy University. Passion. Personal growth. Professional advancement. Flexible schedules. Personalized attention. Balance. Solutions. Argosy University. Meet the challenge.
Sporting Clays is a blast, especially at Colorado Clays, the premier shooting range in the state. Just 5 miles north of DIA, it has 8 voice-controlled trap fields, 2 skeet fields, 2 wobble traps, and a 15-station Sporting Clays course. Open to the public, Colorado Clays can also stage corporate events. We love new shooters. Instruction is available along with rental guns. Visit the Colorado Clays website for more information, and I'll see you at the range.
And the wind farm here, even in the Doub, is stretching out. They're not the nicest things in the world. You may not agree, but it's certainly a beautiful picture here from our Trek aerial view as the wind power continues to blow up in this area, and the riders up front are just hanging on to a diminishing lead, I have to say now, of about 6:58. George Hincapie, though, is still virtually yellow. I should imagine the 2 Americans getting ready for tonight's primetime show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time are getting pretty excited. Is that right, Bob and Craig?
Absolutely, Phil, but we have a 3rd American with us, as you can see, Bob Stapleton from Columbia HTC. We thought it was going to be a day for Mark Cavendish, Bob, but perhaps a bonus at the end of the stage for your team.
Yeah, exactly. We thought we'd be fighting for green today, but now we've got Georgia in a fight for yellow. Couldn't be more exciting for the team and for all of Georgia's fans out there worldwide.
Paul is going to join us. As you may know, Phil, we're going to continue to talk about American cycling stories and ask Bob. He's going to consider to talk about women's cycling, which Columbia as well, a great women's team. So a lot happening on our expanded coverage.
Thanks very much indeed, Craig, and that's the first time I've never heard Bob Roll say anything, but good to see Bob Stapleton is watching the show with us today here in France, because he never shows great emotion, but he certainly knows how to put a team together here, and he's right. His women's team is equally as good as the men's team. They win just as many races, believe me. So here we are now, 6:54. The reverse is on, Paul, so we're all going to start sweating now. Contador looks very, very cool. Oh, even cool. He's giving us all a smile. He must have heard me. He's looking forward to tomorrow now.
He is certainly looking forward to tomorrow to see whether or not he can get himself the yellow jersey. Theoretically, he's in an ideal position. He's in second place overall at just 6 seconds behind Rinaldo Nocentini, 2 seconds ahead of his own teammate Lance Armstrong. And you know what? AG2R, Phil, do not have the firepower. They're swinging off the group here and leaving the pacemaking up to Team Astana. Astana have absolutely no reason at all to pull back George Hincapie. And there you can see just scuttling up the outside a couple more riders from AG2R. I think this team has given everything over the last week to keep Rinaldo Nocentini in the overall lead. I have to say, you shouldn't take sides when you're commentating, but my fingers are crossed for George Hincapie this afternoon.
Well, there he is. Well, that isn't him, that's Sergei, but he was there a second ago. Sergei Ivanov working out. He'll be working out how to leave them all and win the race today. Albert Timmer there, he hasn't ridden the Tour de France before. Martin Mascant, same boat for him here, 6 minutes 50. The computer only caught a glimpse, but it's saying they're going to win, but I think we've assumed that, haven't we?
Yes, the computer unfortunately is saying that they're going to win by 3 minutes and 55 seconds, which would not be enough time advantage for George Hincapie to keep the yellow jersey, which is virtually on his shoulders at the moment. So unless they slow down in the peloton behind, and it seemed as if they were starting to slow because AG2R were becoming a little bit disorganized, well, then Hincapie will not run out the overall win leader at the end of the day.
Well, 7 minutes is to the good at the moment. 30 kilometers still to ride. As they come into Besançon, they go right across the town centre before they go out along the side of the Doubs, and they circumnavigate onto the ring road, the boulevard, where they come into the finishing line. So good finish once they get across the narrow streets of the town of Besançon. The question is, will it be celebrations and a yellow jersey when they get there for George Hincapie? Ah, that's a question. Good wide roads here, very undulating, Paul. You see they just dropped down the hill there. I think you're right. I think we just saw the cameras catching AG2R imploding.
Well, they've come back to the front. They're starting to get themselves organized, and in fact the yellow jersey himself there, Rinaldo Nocentini, has rallied the troops all around him because he realizes this may well be the last day he can enjoy the yellow jersey on his shoulders. He's had some serious assistance this afternoon from Lance Armstrong and Alberto Contador and their team, Team Astana, because for a good hour of racing it was the Kazakhstan team of Astana who did most of the pacemaking, keeping that group at around about the 8-minute mark.
Well, these boys are certainly riding quickly. Hayden Ralston at the back at the moment. George is just dropping down and found somebody's left a big gap there behind Martin Mascant. He won't be pleased about that. Keep the formation tight and keep it working well together. That's the idea. Go through, do your turn, drop down the back, jump onto the back of the train. Good working down there. Well, they look quick enough, don't they, at the moment, and everybody seems to be working, and Stephen Roach's son Nicholas seems to have come off the back. His mates won't be too happy about that because they are riding at the front now. There's the peloton fast over the ground. This wasn't the day we expected the lead to change. We expected it all to be tomorrow when Alberto Contador might go head-to-head with Lance Armstrong. We'll take a break.
Kelly Saunders Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars. The taste nature intended.
Watchmen on Blu-ray. Watchmen. Buy it on Blu-ray and DVD. And look for Watchmen, The End Is Nigh, the complete experience for PlayStation 3. Rated M for mature.
Want the good stuff for your home? Rent-A-Center puts that goal in easy reach. Get the top name brands you trust without credit checks. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Now that's something we can all use. A little assist with our goals.
Hi, may I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people.
The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive. Call or click today.
There are moments in life when there are no limits, no boundaries, no walls. That the rules of gravity just don't apply. Because there is no statute of limitations on greatness.
During the Autobahn for All event, you can get great lease deals. I love it. I just want to know it's the right move. Me? 13 days in the future. Listen, you get a deal on a car you've always wanted, scheduled maintenance is included, it's all good. What's the future like? You love your new Jetta. And the suit? You like it? Nah, I love it.
Now during the Autobahn for All event, lease a 2009 Jetta S for just $179 a month. Hurry in before your future Volkswagen is history.
This is humiliating. Stand still so we can get an accurate reading. Okay, 18 pounds and a smidge.
A smidge?
You know, there's really no need to weigh packages under 70 pounds. With priority mail flat rate boxes from the Postal Service, if it fits, it ships anywhere in the country for a low flat rate.
Cool.
You know, this scale is off a good 7, 8 pounds. Maybe 5.
Priority mail flat rate boxes, only from the Postal Service. A simpler way to ship.
Trentini still in yellow, under threat today though at the moment. Contador is in second at 6 seconds, Armstrong third at 8, Bradley Wiggins at 46 and Andreas Kloden fifth, 54. Well, let's ask the man himself now what he thinks might happen as the race heads for the Alps. Lance Armstrong is our Cisco insider.
Lance, yesterday a cold, wet, hilly day. Were you surprised that none of the GC riders attacked going over some of those climbs as your team set tempo and did a lot of work throughout the day?
Yeah, well, of course we were waiting for those attacks. You always have to be expecting them, but I think it was just so cold and so nasty, and people had on so many layers of clothing that they just, it was hard to go. And they also knew, you know, it was a long ways from the finish. The last climb wasn't going to be that selective, so you know, once again we had a stage that was on paper very difficult, but in the race, in reality, it was neutralized. So but I think the headline is that we were literally freezing. I mean, to go from days and days of close to 100 degrees and then have a day well below 50 and windy and rain, it felt like it was, you know,
You could see it affected a lot of people. On the Platzervassel, we saw you come to the front, kind of look around, almost kind of gauging how everybody else was feeling. Any discoveries there?
No.
Even about yourself?
No, I felt good yesterday, for sure, which is, I guess, a good sign. But it's no secret I like days like that. And, you know, today we try to stay out of trouble. Tomorrow, we'll see how good I feel tomorrow.
Well, let's talk about tomorrow real quick, jumping ahead. It's been a waiting game. It's different than the other tours. Do you kind of like this style of the tour, of just waiting until these last moments, or do you prefer it kind of being spread out and you see these selections throughout the 3 weeks?
Probably better for the fans and the media if there's a little more selection at different parts of the race. I mean, I think it will make for a great last week, and I think that's what they wanted. I mean, as I've always said, nobody will write their final piece until the Ventoux, but you know, it really hasn't been a shakeout aside from the opening time trial, the team time trial, and a medium hard uphill finish in Andorra. So, you know, you either got to put in a few more uphill finishes or a long individual time trial. Otherwise, you know, there's not a ton of drama.
All right, thank you.
Well done, Lance, and he's absolutely right. Only the time trials have opened the gap so far. The gap, though, is still there at 6:22, but it's coming down alarmingly close to the 5:26. After that, Hincapie will not be yellow tonight. 23 kilometers left to race. Well, the speed over the ground of the peloton there, Liggett is where they are at the moment, and the riders now heading into what is in effect the last 15 miles of the race. It's going to be very touch and go, Paul, and I don't want to be the voice of doom, but I think it'd be hard now.
I think they've pretty much got it under control at AG2R, Phil. They've eaten away 30 seconds for every 10 kilometers, and that was the kind of time gap they were looking to pull back. They're now looking over the last 23 kilometers to pull back just a single minute. And as long as they keep the firepower going, as long as they keep the motivation going in the main field, they should do just that.
6:28. I wonder how long it will be. The board they're saying 6:30, but we're far more up to date than that. 22 kilometers to go to the finish. Good fast racing roads now as we head in towards the finish in Besançon. We will cross the city about 5 kilometers from the finishing line, because we go out of town along the Doubs and swing round to an exhibition centre where they've got the wider roads and the more car parking space for all of the people who are involved in the Tour de France. Over 5,000 people move on this race every day.
Daniel Bernati there, number 92. He'll be wondering whether or not he'll get a crack at victory here this afternoon. He's got a teammate. He's got a big advantage because he's the only rider in this group, Phil, who has a teammate with him in the leading group of 12. So if the race does start to split up a fraction on the run-in towards the finish line, Bernati can always count on Frederick Willems to close down the gaps for him.
Yes, the advantage of 2 men in the break. The only team with 2 men in this break. Saxo Bank lost their chance with Jens Voigt when he punctured, and a bad change put him back in the bunch, so they're free to chase if they wish to now, but I don't think they will. They'll let the leaders team do all the chasing today. 6.5 minutes, 1 minute and 5 seconds to the good George Hincapie in the breakaway. All our little washing line there shows where the leaders' jerseys are, every one of them in that big pack at 6.5 minutes behind. They won't lose hope, because I think the breakaway will survive, and then we'll have a race for the line anyway. We'll take a break.
Whether you're powering down the asphalt in a Cervelo S2 or a Cadillac CTS Sport Wagon, you're sure to get that rush. Now imagine the rush you could feel at the final stage of the Tour de France with the Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes. Just watch the Tour de France on Versus and look for the on-screen code. Then log on to Versus.com/rideofyourlife to enter. You could win a Cervelo S2 and a VIP trip to Paris to watch the 2010 Tour. The Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes, and watch the Tour de France right here on Versus.
Start your engine.
I'm not waiting till my cholesterol's an emergency, so I eat better, move more, and take garlic every day.
Garlic's clinically proven ingredient maintains healthy cholesterol safely and naturally.
Listen to your doctor.
Eat right, exercise, Garlic.
I don't feel my age, and I don't want my skin to show it.
Gold Bond Ultimate Restoring Lotion, moisturizers, vitamins, and restoring CoQ10 help skin renew itself.
Here's the skin I remember.
Gold Bond Ultimate Restoring.
This stuff really works.
Hi, may I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people.
The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive. Call or click.
Torres. Unbeaten in 5 years. Can undefeated Brian Bowles pose a threat? Ask his last 7 victims. Torres versus Bowles. Live Sunday, August 9th. Only on Versus.
Well, don't forget, you can join up and play our Fantasy Cycling Challenge by going to versus.com to sign up. You can take part in the race every day, select your team and see how they get on, and carry off some great prizes from the teams Garmin Slipstream, Astana and Columbia HTC. Just create your own team and see how they fare. Well, we're still there. He's still in yellow on the road at the moment, but it's down to around about a minute now. Should they get down to the finish together, then we can go to Robbie Ventura now and check out exactly what the finish has in held for them.
Once again, it was cold and rainy at the start this morning. The director sportifs were emphatic that their riders stay on top of their nutrition. For on cold days like today, these riders burn 10 to 15% more calories per hour just to stay warm. These guys have been eating since kilometer zero, and they're going to continue to eat throughout the day. They're not thinking just getting enough fuel to get to the finish today, but they're also thinking about making sure their fuel sources are topped off for the difficult stage to Verbier tomorrow.
Thanks very much, Robbie. Well, I think they'll stay away. It's going to be a good one for the sprinters, though, when they do get down there. Bunch as well, by the way, racing for green jersey. Joining the leaders here now as we look along, 17.8, 6:45. It's coming down, but it's not coming down too fast. Well, it's gone up a couple of seconds at the moment. The last time we were around this sort of gap was at 90 kilometers to go. Here we are now at 17 to go, and we've gone back to that. In the meantime, of course, we've been up to almost 9 minutes.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, Phil, I have a feeling that the firepower seems to have disappeared from AG2R. They were chasing very, very strongly. They brought it down from 7.5 minutes to 6.5 minutes with an awful lot of work. Then all of a sudden, they turned off and spread across the road. And I think they were looking to see if any of the other teams would come forward and help them. But the big thing is, if you're leading a bike race like this, you don't have any friends at a stage like this.
Well, there's the man with all the pressure. He's had it for a week, though. He's handled it pretty well. My opinion, he's got better and better. He looked a bit shaky the first day in the Pyrenees with the yellow, but it all worked out for him. He shook his head there. Now, what's he saying, I wonder?
He's talking to Vladimir Efimkin, who in fact started this race as the leader of AG2R, and he still has a lot to play once we get into the big mountain passes. And Nocentini is just trying to encourage his guys to keep the pressure on at the front end. Astana, oh, there's a problem at the back here for Tom Bonen. This really is not his tour, is it?
No, when he looks out, you look, he's out permanently, but he's got a better wheel change than Jens Voigt did, and Tom's still in the convoy, so he'll rejoin there.
Well, he doesn't look too concerned, but I did hear that Tom Bonen has decided to ride the Vuelta a España, the Tour of Spain, at the end of this year to try and get himself ready for the World Championships.
Well, that's good news. First time he's worn that champion's jersey of national champion of Belgium, even though he's won some of the biggest races in the world. Until this year, he'd never won the national championship of his country.
Well, he's a prolific winner of one-day races, including the Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix, and of course a World Championships. And when he did win that title, Phil, I was a little bit surprised when I looked back through all of the records to see that he'd never actually won it before.
A few empty road up there. Well, keep right if you're going down through the locks, otherwise you go over the weir here now on the Doub. As we pan right to find the peloton. These are difficult moments now. George is living in hope, I think, and in the hope that they will slow down. Seeing the yellow jersey there talk to Vladimir Efimkin. Efimkin is a Russian, but he lives in Italy and he speaks the language. He's learnt all his trade in Italy. Started out his career riding for the South African Barlow World Team, which is really managed by the Italians. He's now gone across to the side of Nocentini.
Little problem at the back for the brakes here for Tom Bonen, the team mechanic coming alongside. Mechanics working on the fly here, trying to make sure that they do this work at around about 45 kilometers an hour. The big professional that he is, Bonen, getting into the slipstream of his team car just for a fraction of a second before whipping by, and then he'll use all of the convoy cars there to move forward slowly, one car at a time, to get himself back into the main field.
The referee will be telling all the cars to ride in tight formation now, and not just hang back with 20 meters between each car. Here he comes up behind Milram, I suspect, as he now will decide that the referees won't say much if they stay there for about 50 to 100 meters, but they must always be seen to be making progress back to the peloton. If he sits there for 20 minutes, he would be disqualified from the Tour de France.
Frederick Willems, Liquigas, he's got every interest to ride hard at the front end of this group because he's got one of the fastest finishers in this leading group of 12, and that's Daniele Benati, already a winner of 2 stages of the Tour de France back in 2007.
Well, Paul, 15 kilometres to go, and the gap is 6:40. It was 6:31 at 20 kilometres to go, so that's a positive way to look at it, eh?
Well, it's now sort of stabilised with that 1 minute advantage that George Hincapie has over the front end of the main field. Let's not forget that the time that Hincapie and this group of 12 need to finish ahead of the main field is 5 minutes and 25 seconds if there's going to be a change in the overall standings tonight on the eve of a very important mountaintop finish to Verbier tomorrow. But you can see, Phil, there, every now and again they let the gap go, and Hincapie's always the first rider to go forward to keep the pace nice and high. He knows that he's got to keep these guys encouraged. He's got to keep these guys motivated for 15 more kilometres.
Martin Mascant comes through. George looking for everybody here. There's Lemerville, Sebastien Minard, Roach. Well, we're looking down at the breakaway now. There's no doubt who the driver of the breakaway is, really. It's George Hincapie. He's desperate now. He's just about holding. This is the return of Tom Bonan, a puncture for him, and he's coming back to the field quite strongly just now. So he'll be glad to be back in the pack. And in fact, that looks like Matthew Lloyd has got his hand in the air there, the Australian rider, and the way it was high in the air, he might have a flat tyre as well.
Former Australian national champion you can see here that Tom Bonan made his way back to the rear end of the main field. I don't think he'll be too worried about trying to sprint. You can also see at the front end of the pack here, Phil, a bit of urgency now starting to come to AG2R as they realize they can almost feel the yellow jersey slipping away from the shoulders of Rinaldo Nocentini. They've got to find something very deep down inside themselves over the last 15 Ks if they want to keep the yellow jersey on that team for one more day.
It's holding. They've lost 1 second, that's all, in the last kilometre and a half. The breakaway are now riding at the same speed as the chase. It's a little bit disjointed now, this breakaway. There's 5 or 6 guys doing more work than the rest in that break. Look at this now. All of these riders in the white jerseys, all teammates of the yellow jersey. Desperate moments as they go under 20 kilometres to go. They won't catch the leaders. They're trying to shut down the time. That's all they want, to keep their man in yellow. Once they go inside of 5:26, they will keep the yellow jersey tonight.
And that's all they're aiming for. That is the goal of the riders from AG2R. They know that there's no chance of an individual victory on today's stage, and they know that all of the other guys in this group behind know that as well. So they won't get any help or any assistance from no one else in this bike race this afternoon. Looking at the group here, Phil, of 12, they've again lost their organisation, and that is not good for George Hincapie. These guys also know that Hincapie has got a goal at the end of the day, and that's trying to get the yellow jersey. They, on the other hand, are thinking about how can we outfox the other guys in this group? How can we beat Daniele Benati? How can we beat Gerard Cholik? Or watch out for the last-minute burst by that man, Sergei Ivanov.
Oh, he'll itch. He'll try to go. George is driving all the time. He's got a strong man in Christophe Lemerville in the white jersey on the front, because he will move up to second in the race, although his second place time is in danger right now. And let's not forget that they've been in the lead for if they get to the finish, they'll have led for 187 kilometres today. That's an awful long way. And some of the first timers in the Tour sitting at the back there now, I think, are feeling the pace just that little bit.
Yeah, you can see at the back there, 1 or 2 riders are starting to feel the pace. Lemerville just on the left-hand side, slipping to the back of the group. Hayden Royalston.
He stopped working, I think, Paul. He's sat at the back now.
Well, he'd be thinking now about the possibility, Phil, of trying to get himself a stage victory. As you said, it would be the first time ever a Kiwi's won a stage in the Tour.
Well, that's absolutely right. As we continue to see the race being driven by Willems here, the teammate of the other rider in liquid gas, and that is Benati, a likely stage winner. Last chance, everybody. Versus.com/ride of your life. Chance to win a visit to the 2010 Tour with other prizes. Go online. You need the password for the day, which is Chasers today, and enjoy the competition. Might see you next year following the Route du Tour de France. The peloton being pushed over to the right of the road by a slightly crosswind here. That long thin line at the front, they are flying at the moment, but they've still got to get more than a minute back on that breakaway to stop George. There's the scene at the finish here on the finishing line in the Besançon. The cavalcade are in. The riders will be shortly. See you in a moment.
The Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep Summer Clearance is here, and it's the best time to get some of the best deals. Get in now and get the Chrysler Town & Country with a generous cash allowance or 0% financing for 60 months. The trail-rated Jeep Grand Cherokee also comes with a cash allowance or 0% financing for 60 months. Or choose a hard-working all-new Dodge Ram truck with a cash allowance that's tough to beat. All with our best-in-the-business lifetime powertrain warranty. So hurry, come see the deals we've built for you at the Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep Summer Clearance.
This is the new iPhone. Shooting video. This is the new iPhone editing video. And this is the new iPhone sharing video. Video on the iPhone 3GS, the most powerful iPhone yet.
Y'all loving your McCafe experience? Good, because here's something else to love. Free McCafe Mondays at McDonald's. Enjoy a sweet, scintillating sample of chocolate bliss that'll leave you shivering for more, and you thought we couldn't get any cooler. Or warm your soul with a chocolate and coffee combo that'll send you to mocha heaven. Only thing better is that it's free. They give me the light, so I give you McCafe.
7 races left, and they're all on Versus. From the ovals to the streets, day and night. From Florida to Japan, the fastest drivers on the planet are on the final laps to the championship when IndyCar returns to Versus. Sunday, July 26th at 5.
Geico's been saving people money on car insurance for over 70 years. And who doesn't want value for their dollar? Been true since the day I made my first dollar. Where is that dollar? I got it out to show you.
Was it rather old and wrinkly?
Yeah, you saw it?
Fancy a crisp?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This weekend, Lumber Liquidators prices will get even lower, online or in-store. Use our savings coupons to increase the savings on your new floor. Bellawood Golden Teak Solid Hardwood Flooring for $2.99 a square foot. Use your coupon and save even more. All Supreme Bamboo Flooring just $1.99 a square foot. Save more with your coupon. Get your coupons in-store or online at lumberliquidators.com. For the best deals on hardwood floors, visit any location, lumberliquidators.com, or call 1-800-HARDWOOD.
Welcome back, and just in time, because less than 10 seconds ago, this man, Sergei Ivanov, decided to attack the breakaway, and this is a copybook move by Sergei. They just caught Nicholas Roach on the right here, and then they all were taking deep breaths. Ivanov has gone, and nobody was able to react. He is such a clever, clever rider. And so he's now going to try and build on that. He's only ever won one stage of the Tour de France. It comes at Aix-les-Bains back in 2001. 10 kilometers to ride, 6 minutes 17. It's still in the favor of George Hincapie. Let's say 6 miles. It sounds closer. There's the rest of the breakaway. They've got to reorganize themselves, Paul. Otherwise, it's curtains. Ivanov will win.
Well, they are hammering at each other now. The move comes from this man from New Zealand, Hayden Roylston, coming across the gap. They're chased by Daniele Benati, trying to keep them all together. This is really starting to whip up the pacemaking. They need to nail this guy back very shortly, Phil, because if not, they will never see him again. This is exactly the same way that he won himself that stage in Aix-les-Bains in 2001. He's not looking back. He's keeping the tempo up.
But this could be the sweetest carrot of the day, dangling in front of this breakaway, simply because the reaction is causing the breakaway to accelerate. It is putting George Hincapie into the yellow jersey. 6:21 is good enough for yellow. Anything of 5 minutes and 26 will give George yellow tonight. And because of these counter moves, they're going to drag themselves away from that chasing peloton. peloton. This is going to be a hair-raising finish down in Besançon now. Ivanov, winner this year of Holland's biggest race, the Amstel Gold Race.
Well, another move coming from Nicolas Roche, straight off the front end of the group. He realizes he can see a stage victory in the Tour de France disappearing away from him. A slight incline here. He's halfway across the gap. It's Daniele Benatti on the front of that group. He's probably the fastest man in there, and he realizes he's got to pull it all back together if he wants to get the win.
Well, we are in the streets of Besançon now, remember, because we go through the town centre. Listen to the crowd here. A Saturday in this city, cheering the Tour de France all the way across the city centre. This is a beautiful city. There's the clock on the right. It's famous for the clocks made here in France. And the time, was it the right time, Paul?
It was spot on.
Well, you wouldn't expect it to be anything else here. And look at the whole population's turned out. And they're being treated to a grandstand finale performance by the 12 riders in the breakaway. The Russian trying to run away with it. 21 seconds. The chasers are coming. And still at 6:12, the breakaway. But remember, that clock is counting on Sergei Ivanov. So Hincapie has got to keep chasing.
Well, Hincapie has to keep chasing. Halfway across the gap there is Albert Timmer of the small skill Shimano squad. And again, the accelerations, Phil, coming thick and fast. This time it comes from the rider from Cofidis, and that is Sebastian Minard. There relayed by Daniel Rigi of Team Lampre. They're throwing caution to the wind here this afternoon, but if they don't get themselves organised, this man is going to run away with the show.
This is the 7th Tour de France for Sergei Ivanov. He's got one stage win at Aix-les-Bains to show for it. He always has bad trouble, you know. He didn't start on stage 19, his first tour in 1998. He also didn't start in 2000, 2001. He crashed out of the race. Then he had a couple of good years, but then he withdrew on the rest day in 07. And today, who knows, he might have a second stage win. They keep looking because they want to reach him on their own. They don't want to take anybody. So they're going to keep sprinting off the front if they can.
Well, Mascan there trying to encourage all the riders in the group to start working again, but there's been so many attacks thrown at this group that nobody wants to help anyone here because legs are starting to burst. This man all of the time, though, will continue to ride at a steady pace. He won't have the accelerations and decelerations of the group behind him. He will get locked into 47, 48 kilometers an hour and try to build on his advantage. He's still hovering at around about 20 seconds over the chasers. Roylston has linked up there, Phil, with that other rider, Albert Timmer, and they are halfway across the gap.
A little bit of frustrating times here for George because they're all jumping away from him and he can't really stay with them at the moment. He's going to have to look for a different move. He's desperately close to keeping this yellow jersey or getting it. Nudge the second there, 6:28, but that is for the leader now. Sergei Ivanov, he's won 38 races in his career, Ivanov. He's won 3 of those races this year. But this is the way he wins. He uses his strength to break them and he can ride a time trial. 6 times the champion of Russia, including the title he won 2 weeks ago. 3 now.
Well, the lone leader, Ivanov, has 15 seconds advantage over Albert Timmer and Hayden Royster of New Zealand and Cervelo test team. It's 27 seconds back to the group containing the remnants of that 12-man breakaway. Moving through town here very shortly, they'll start to find the big, wider boulevards alongside the River Doubs before they then climb up to the finishing line.
The Tour de France has hit town, but unfortunately today the finish is the other side and out as we'll go right across this lovely city and underneath the old citadel here, and then we will climb around the borders of the River Doubs and then we'll swing up to the finishing line, slightly uphill. That might hurt the fully flying legs now of the Russian rider. Hayden Royalston trying to pull the black and white flag of New Zealand to the top of the mast as he continues to chase towards the line.
Well, he has 18 seconds advantage over those 2 chasers, Hayden Royalston and Albert Timmer, and around about 30 going back to the rest of the group with George Hincapie and, of course, with the riders like Daniele Benatti, Nicolas Roche, and Gerard Cholek. They are starting to get themselves organised again.
Well, one-on-one, they've got 2 lines going anyway. But the sprinters are being left, and that's what normally happens. 6:35 to the peloton, take off 22 seconds. You've got 6:12 is the gap. That's still good enough for a yellow jersey for George Hincapie. But remember, the peloton are more likely to pick up speed as they too will come into Besançon, and the sprinters start to get to the front. There still has to be an amazing sprint finish today between Mark Cavendish, Thor Hushoff, and Tyler Farrar, because those 3 top sprinters are racing for the green jersey. There's 13 points for the man that wins the bunch sprint.
And that's an important thing that you can be certain that Mark Cavendish and Thor Hushovd know all about. But this is the big battle here. 24 seconds for Royalston and Timmer trying to get across to the flying Russian Sergei Ivanov. And I think now, Phil, you can see the organization is starting to disappear from this chase group.
Well, let's not forget, too, that for the 2 previous seasons, this guy was on the same team, Astana, and he moved away as Lance Armstrong made his comeback. He's now gone to the new Russian team, Katusha. 6:37 is the gap. 5 kilometers is where we are. We're now leaving town as we go out into the country on a right-handed course, slightly uphill around the Douve, which is just off the right shoulder of Ivanov.
Well, this is the 2 chasers now at 23 seconds. Albert Timmer on the front for Skill Shimano, Hayden Royalston in the white and black jersey of Team Cervelo test team, and the rest of the group are not too far behind them then, but they will probably catch the 2 men in the middle. But nobody, I think, Phil, now is going to get anywhere close to the Russian Sergei Ivanov.
Well, we did tell you he was the man most likely to, and he advertises how he does it. He waits until the moment. He allowed a number of riders to attack, and when the field came together, he went immediately. Before they could recover, they couldn't lift the pace again. And if you give this guy 10 seconds, he takes 24. It's a big split right now. The gap is 6:35 to the peloton. George is in that 35-second group, so he's 6 minutes. He needs 5 minutes 26 for yellow.
Well, that's the gap. These 2 now are trying to get across, but you're right, Phil. Once Sergei Ivanov gets into his autopilot mode, he has got the ability to keep it steadily in there at 47, 48 kilometers an hour, and it takes a very serious chase behind a man like this to pull him back in. And I think the firepower's gone out of the chase. These 2 riders have got themselves part way across the gap, but then all of a sudden they seem to hit the wall. They couldn't go any faster. They're only 10 seconds ahead of the chasing group now of 9 men.
Well, they certainly don't look as fluid as Sergei Ivanov. Hayden Royalston having to do some strong turns now. Timmer, I think, is right on his limit. He's a young, well, they're both first-timers in the Tour de France, but Royalston a little bit the stronger of the 2, I think. That chase, though, is coming in, and it's leaked with gas because Bernardi's the sprinter trying to get up here.
4 kilometers to go. It was 25 seconds over the 2 chasers, 35 seconds over the group containing George Hincapie. Hincapie currently, if we stop the race now, would still walk away with the yellow jersey. But the thing is, Phil, he also knows how quickly the main field can go over the last 5 or 10 kilometers. It's going to be nail-biting for Hincapie.
There could be a blanket over the whole top 4 riders in the Tour de France tonight. It might be something like 8 or 9 seconds across the board. What a battle tomorrow on the climb up to Verbier. If the organisers arrange this tour for a hard final week and to bring a close finish, they've got it. That's for sure. 6:33 the gap. 3 kilometers now. Sergei Ivanov, I don't think, can be caught. These 2 boys are absolutely stuck in no man's land. That pack behind needs to reorganize quickly. They also are fully committed, I think.
That at the time like this, when it's do or die, you've got to give everything you've got in the gas tank to try and get across the gap. They keep looking back. They're actually more concerned, Phil, about getting caught by the 9 chasers and actually catching up with Sergei Ivanov, because they realize the Russian is absolutely flying. He's off the front end of this group. He's alone. He won't hold anything back at all. He realizes that as long as he keeps that pain in the top of his legs there, he is going to get the victory, and he's not showing any signs of weakness. This is exactly the same style, exactly the same position that got him the victory in 2001 on the run into Aix-les-Bains.
Well, look at the crowds here. We turn right now as we start to go in towards the last 2 kilometers. What we've got to remember is George really should just go to the front and drive and forget what position he finishes.
Well, these 2 chasers still locked in at 25 seconds behind them. George Hincapie and the rest of the group of 9 riders. Hincapie hoping to try and survive. They've got a little bit of organisation still coming. It's Martin Mascant, the Dutchman on Team Garmin Slipstream, is whipping up the pacemaking at the front end of the main field. It's 38 seconds back to this group. 6:32 still back to the main field and the yellow jersey.
Well, what it means is George is still in yellow, but the bunch are going to accelerate as they come into town. Talking of town, that's exactly where they are now. And these are the Garmin teammates driving on here, because it's very important that Tyler Farrer also gets up in that sprint finish. But we're looking now at Sergei Ivanov as he's looking for the red kite, which gives him his last kilometre. Totally flying along here now, and he's got the stage because of this.
Well, Phil, just thinking about how history repeats itself. Tomorrow the race starts from Pontarlier. Now, when this man at the front, Sergei Ivanov, got his victory in 2001, the race started from Pontarlier on the way to Aix-les-Bains. So he probably feels pretty much at home on these roads.
One day ahead of schedule. We should have backed him tomorrow, but tomorrow we go uphill in the Alps. He won't be so clever, so he's had to win today. And it looks like he's going to be very successful here. The chase has reorganized a little bit there, but George Hincapie's no choice. He's got to drive. He's going to get no help from anybody now. It's a matter of who wins the day, who gets the prize money. And if George Hincapie gets a yellow jersey, it's a big if right now, because the peloton will go quickly over these last 5 kilometres.
They will whip it up in the main field, Phil, because they've got to get their sprinters to the front, because even though the sprinters are only going for 12th position on the stage, there are still big points available. 13 points for 13th place, down to 1 point for 25th place. That is the third group on the road, led by Hincapie. Hincapie's not worried about second or third on a stage like this afternoon. He's more concerned about the seconds that might bring him the yellow jersey for the second time in his career, as Sergei Ivanov goes inside of 1 kilometre to go, and still, Phil, he has never ever looked back over his shoulders to see if the others are coming back to him.
He is 900 metres from the line now. He's looking for his 39th win of his career. He's had 3 wins this year. This will go down as one of his best, as it will go alongside the Amstel Gold Race, which was in April this year. And Katusha is a new team here. They've had little success without Robin McEwen in the Tour de France, but now it looks as though Sergei is going to deliver the goods. He's faced a picture of pain here, but it soon will be one of joy. We've had a counter-attack from the pack, and it's got to go. It looks like Roach may have gone again here. And Roach is going to reach these 2 riders. He's going to come up behind Hayden Royalston. A little flick of the wrist there. Hayden has tried to raise it. Well, this is a brave, even if it is a very cheeky move from Nicholas Roach. His mouth wide open, but there's a big reaction from the field here.
Well, they're dragging themselves back, but they're not going to see this man again, as he's inside of the last 300 or 400 metres, and he's just pumping it all the way up to the finishing line. But that attack by Roach may well give a couple of seconds to Hincapie in the group behind.
As the cars turn off, Sergei Ivanov is about to give a victory salute now. We expected him to make his move. He did exactly that. He wins the stage for Russia and for Katusha, and he's stolen the show. A long breakaway today. That's the stage winner. But who is the leader tonight? Now, Nicholas Roach beginning to fade. He's still got Hayden Royalston digging deep here for the 3rd place, but it looks as though Nicholas Roach is going to get the performance of his life. They're coming very close on him. Remember that the clock will start for yellow and George. An excellent 2nd place by Roach. I think Mascant probably just beat Royalston on the line. They're not sure. Well, the clock is going.
We have to start the clock now. This is the man who's taken the stage glory, Phil, but now we have to wait for 5 minutes and 25 seconds from when Nicholas Roach crossed the line to see whether or not the main field are going to come in with the yellow jersey. It is going to be very close for George Hincapie here this afternoon.
The clock is running at the moment. Remember, it's not quite the clock on the screen, because the clock is running on George Hincapie. And we're looking at Garmin Slipstream here. I'm not quite sure why they are doing so much here. Maybe they're just doing a dress rehearsal for Paris, because the sprinters won't have any more chance now until we go to Paris a week tomorrow. And so perhaps they're just going to try and get a good finish for Tyler Farrer. But they need a good finish for Thor Hushovd, the Cervelo team, and Colombia need a good finish for Mark Cavendish. Now, if Mark Cavendish finishes 6 places ahead of Thor Hushovd, that's a tough call, isn't it? It's going to mean that he will get back his green jersey and should keep it really going through the Alps, although Thor's a man that goes for those sprints out on the road. He's a very strong one. Now, George Hincapie needs to finish by 5:40 on the clock to keep the yellow jersey, and Nocentini rather must finish by 5:40 for George not to get the yellow jersey.
And I have to think, just looking at the way that Team Garmin Slipstream are riding on the front here, Phil, this afternoon, it's an American team trying to prevent another American team from taking the overall lead, because they've come to the front here to help Team AG2R, who didn't have the firepower anymore to close off the final 2 kilometers.
2 minutes have gone since George Hincapie crossed the line. If he gets to 5:40, he pulls yellow tonight. It's going to be a tall ask because these boys are going to start the sprint pretty soon. They've now come through the centre of Besançon. They're going to run round the shoulder of the river now as they make that right turn up to the last 2 kilometres. AG2R have still to drive here to save the day for the man in yellow. Garmin on the right, Michael Rogers for Team Columbia on the left, looking to make sure. And there in the green jersey is Thor Hushovd trying to get onto the train. Now, he doesn't have to win the sprint. He needs to finish alongside Cavendish, and he's locked into his back wheel.
Well, it's really difficult for Columbia HTC. They don't want to start leading out Mark Cavendish too close to the finish line, because then all of a sudden they'll be eating into the advantage of George Hincapie. So for them, they will probably try and back it off a fraction if they can before they unleash their lead out for Mark Cavendish. Not too far away from Mark Cavendish is the green jersey of Thor Hushovd. This is going to be a very close sprint.
3 minutes have gone. 2 minutes 40 remains for the peloton. Now, these, of course, are our timings. Don't get too excited if I'm out by a second or two. But it looks to me as though George Hincapie is going to sweat it out for another couple of minutes. The peloton are coming here. The clock continues to run. And just look at the head of the race here. It's Garmin at 2 kilometres. 2 kilometres could be 2 minutes. It's looking very, very tight, Paul, but we're talking seconds for sure.
Well, it's slightly uphill, and that should take these riders a minute 5, a minute 10 for each kilometre. So it really is going to go down to a question of seconds. It's Silence Lotto at the front as Frederick Willems comes in. He will take 12th place. He's lost 3 minutes and 40 seconds over the last few kilometres. Now it's up to the main field trying to save it. They're all trying to save the yellow jerseys.
Well, look at this. Cadell Evans riding second wheel here in the back of his team. Tomorrow, Cadell must attack on the climb to Verbier and close a little bit of time on the boys who've gained it over the last 2 weeks of racing. 4 minutes has ticked by. We're looking at 5:40, I think, and they're now looking for the 1 kilometre kite. It's still not there, as if, strangely enough, and I don't know why, it is Silence Lotto driving this race to the line.
They all want to keep it status quo for the race going in tomorrow, Phil. They want Ronaldo Nocentini in the lead with Alberto Contador second, and then they want to have Lance Armstrong third. You can see Columbia, they're waiting for the final minute. They don't want to go to the front and set any tempo at all. They want the clock to read 5 minutes and 40 seconds. There is the Flamme Rouge. A minute and 10 seconds, a minute and 7 seconds is what they need. What might go in George Hincapie's favour is it's slightly uphill, so they won't be doing 60 kilometres now. They're probably going to do 55.
We could be talking 5 seconds one way or the other for yellow tonight. This is an incredible Tour de France this year. As they now line up, Michael Rogers is trying to deliver Tony Martin, followed by Mark Renshaw, followed by the missile himself, and locked into the back of the missile is the green jersey of Thor Hushovd. They're going to start the sprint. Tony Martin is trying to delay it as much as possible, waiting for the run from Leonardo Duque. Samuel Dumoulin is the man who's trying to get up in red. The others are coming out from the left here now. They're trying to give a lead out to Hushovd, but remember that Hushovd must finish 6 places behind, and that's not going to happen, as now Renshaw says, where are you, Mark? He looks both sides. Now he goes. Now Cav is going to have to break off the wheel here of Mark Renshaw, and right on the inside is the green jersey of Hushovd, and that should be close enough to keep it tonight. Now he's waiting for it to go very close on the line. I think genuinely there, the green jersey had a little genuine complaint there by the way the Colombian boys delivered that sprint to the line.
My calculation, Phil, is in fact George Hincapie is going to miss out on the yellow jersey by probably 3 seconds as we look down onto the citadel there and the city of Besançon. That was very close and sad for Hincapie, but it was his teammates there had to lead the charge to the line.
Well, we're finishing off to the right of our picture there as we came over the Doubs for the big finish. What a race today. Well, the situation, I think Lance Armstrong might have saved third. He might find he's given way to his teammate, or ex-teammate rather, George Hincapie. Hincapie may pierce, and I think should pierce, the top 3 in the race. Or has he done enough to take yellow? Remember, we've got paper going in every direction here, trying to work it out while we commentate on the picture. So I wouldn't be too reliant on what we're telling you just at the moment. But we will work it all out. And there's no doubt we got the winner right, Sergei Ivanov for Russia. We'll take a break, come back, and don't leave us now. Highlight standings, interviews, and who is the leader of the Tour de France tonight? We'll see you in a moment.
Gave her
home.
It's perfect.
But she is not who you think she is.
The orphanage you thought she came from has never heard of her.
You don't know how long I've waited for a family like yours.
What did you do?
Orphan, rated R.
Choosing a car is like trying on a dress. As soon as you slip into it, you know it's the one. But you still turn around to see the back. Because let's face it, you want them to hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Introducing the all-new Cadillac CTS Sportwagon.
Kelly Saunders Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars. The taste nature intended.
Why are you in my yard?
Why are you in your yard? There's all sorts of super destinations. You could go to a jazz festival, stock car racing, ride a donkey in a canyon. You just gotta go. I got free Wi-Fi.
At the World Championships, it's not about wrapping yourself in newfound glory. It's about wrapping yourself in old glory.
To avoid cholesterol problems, I get checked every year and take garlic every day.
Just one garlic daily helps maintain healthy cholesterol with a clinically proven ingredient that's safe and all natural.
Good cholesterol, great checkups. Garlic.
Last appointment, my dermatologist said lotion with sunscreen all over.
Introducing Gold Bond Ultimate Protection Body Lotion. Moisturizers, vitamins, plus sunscreen.
Soft and safe every day.
New Gold Bond Ultimate Protection.
This stuff really works.
Michelle has had leukemia since she was 2. The Coleman twins were born 24 weeks premature. Max had his first surgery when he was 3 days old. These kids are alive today, and it's a real miracle. When your child needs help, there's a Children's Miracle Network hospital nearby. Go to childrensmiraclenetwork.org to support our hospitals helping local kids.
Welcome back. The Tour is in town. We're still waiting to see whether George has done it or not. At 124 miles, there can only be seconds in it, one way or the other. What a terrific day of racing it's been, and we didn't predict George Hincapie to think of a yellow jersey today. I must say that. But he was right there in that finishing sprint. The stage being run by Sergei Ivanov. All right, let's have a look then at the Cadillac performance highlights. It's been a rather busy day, especially in the breakaway at the start this morning. 164 riders waved off by the race director, Christian Prudhomme. And in the first hour, they did 49.8 kilometers. George Hincapie immediately into the break, which settled down around 12 kilometers in. Mark Cavendish went with it and then fell back to the pack. And it was left to the Astana team to take up the chase and not allow that breakaway of 12 to get too far ahead. It did get out to around about 9 minutes. Jens Voigt was in, but then he had this rather slow wheel change, to say the least. But this, you see, is the neutral service car, not a team service car, and the wheels have to be adjusted to suit the bike that they're dropping into. So unfortunately for Jens, he was in the break. The mechanic made it a little bit slow, and Jens let his feelings know. He was asking the car here to help him back, but of course they're not allowed to do that. So he went back to the bunch, told everybody what had happened, and reported 12 riders going clear at the front. And as always, the niceties of the Tour de France. And this is Christophe Moreau, who lives in the region, about to stop off and greet his wife, who was a podium girl, by the way, on the Tour de France. And also his daughter there, Suzanne, I think his wife's name is. On to the first climb of the day. The boys had no points in the King of the Mountains, so they were just trying to gain time. On the first climb, they went over the top, led by Frederick Willems in the lime green jersey, with a lead of 5 minutes and 30 seconds over the peloton. Hincapie was now the leader on the road by 4 seconds. On the next finishing climb here, this was on the Côte de Blamont, with 88 kilometers to go. The gap is now 6 minutes and 30 seconds as Sébastien Minard was first over the top. The peloton knew that the man up front was now in yellow, and George Hincapie knew it as well. Alberto Contador dropped back to check on tactics with a Spanish conversation with his manager Johan Brunel, who seems to be explaining exactly the way it is today. So he went back to the bunch. We caught up with Lance Armstrong. He didn't know whether George would make it or not. He is his mate. He's on a rival team. And they just took on lunch in a casual manner. In the end, they forced the Team AG2R, the team of the race leader, Ronaldo Nocentini, to go to the front and try and close that gap down for themselves. They knew at this stage they weren't going to catch the breakaway, but they needed to get closer than 5 minutes and 25 seconds on George Hincapie. He knew it too, and he was trying now to incite a little riot in the breakaway and get them to split up. But nobody was playing ball. Daniele Bonatti, he was on the front of that little group there. Then came a flurry of attacks, and the one by Nicholas Roach on the left. When they caught Nicholas, they should have been ready to counter the one that should have been anticipated from Sergei Ivanov. That was where he made his winning move, and he's still about 6.5 kilometers from home. The reaction came far too late. Roach tried again, they chased him down. Hayden Royston tried again, they caught him, but nobody could catch the Russian cyclist, who is now a champion of Russia for a 6th time. His first one was in 1998. Hayden Royston from New Zealand, trying to put matters to rights. These two are first-time riders in the Tour de France and made a real show today. This guy's an old hand. I think he's ridden the Tour 7 times, and he wasn't going to be caught now. His last win, similar to this, on his own in Aix-les-Bains. Roach tried again, but this time it was more meaningful, as he was trying to hang on for 2nd place. At the finishing line, by a good margin, the winner on the day, Sergei Ivanov, his 2nd ever stage win in the Tour de France. A sprint for 2nd place, and Nicholas Roach just getting it on the line ahead of Royston and Martin Mascant. George Hincapie there, just mentioning on his race radio he'd finished, start the clock. And then came the sprint between Mark Cavendish on the left here, looking where everybody was. He went a little bit close, and I don't think that Thor Hushovd was too pleased with the sprinting line of Mark Cavendish today. It remains to be seen if the judges do anything about it, but I doubt it. So that is our Cadillac performance highlights of the day. We'll start with the stage results. That's the easiest bit. Sergei Ivanov wins, and as we saw them cross the line, Royston hung on to a brilliant 3rd place for New Zealand and Cervelo. Mascant, he got 4th for Garmin Slipstream, and Sébastien Minard of Cofidis in 5th. Daniel Rigi 6th. Christophe Lemervel, who's a lot to gain today as well in the overall. He was 7th. Hincapie right on his wheel, all based at 16 seconds. Bonatti, the sprinter, didn't sprint at all in 9th. And Gerald Cholik in 10th. There were 12 in the break. Albert Timmer got 11th after he got caught, and Frederick Williams trailed in at 3:41. Mark Cavendish getting the best of the rest and gaining a point in the green jersey, not enough to get it tonight. Hushovd will keep that in 14th place today. Renshaw crossing the line 15th. Hučerović seems to be becoming a sprinter. He's 16th. Rojas will hold 3rd in the green jersey, 17th. Top 20 completed by the Australian Brett Lancaster, who also rides on Cervelo. 5:36 the peloton was timed. 5:25 George Hincapie was behind overall. But remember, George finished behind the winner today. If he'd have been alongside the winner, he would certainly be in the lead tonight, but now it looks a bit dicey. There's the beautiful citadel here. This is the ancient medieval city which overlooks Besançon, and the river goes right around it. What a great vantage point when you had battles in the old days. Now, I think we can go down to the finishing line here, and I'm not sure. It's either Frankie or Robbie talking to George Hincapie.
All right. George, you can tell a million thoughts are going through your mind. A long day out there, so close to the yellow jersey. What are you feeling right now?
Oh, I'm just extremely disappointed. You know, I don't know why Astana was riding. I think that's highly insulting to me, and I'm very disappointed in that they kept us at so close of a distance. It was just basically doing the work for AG2R, so I just can't understand it.
At the end, it was said that Garmin was also riding on the front, and ultimately, in the end, I think doing the lead out for Mark Cavendish might have taken away some seconds, too. It's just a long effort out there, and you realize how close you came.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have done anything else. I just don't understand what was going on behind why Garmin and why Astana were riding. I mean, if that's you know, that's the way they want to race, then what can you do?
So you might have some difficult conversations in the peloton with some riders tomorrow?
It's not worth it. I mean, it's over. It was you know, chance of a lifetime for me, and it just didn't happen.
All right, thanks.
So clearly he hasn't got the yellow jersey. Well, George, you learn who your friends are on the Tour de France, don't you? Because I've no idea why Astana was chasing you, and indeed why Garmin were chasing you. They had nothing to gain from the chase today. So George Hincapie's been robbed by his friends, and he made that very clear in that interview, which was, by the way, with Frankie Andreu. So George is going to go home tonight and try and sort out his former friends on the Tour de France. By the look of it, he's quite clearly there. He was bitterly disappointed, and he has not got yellow tonight, and we think it's by about 5 seconds. Coming up, though, the standings, podiums, and a Lance Armstrong interview.
Summers of boat hauling, 6 minutes to soccer practice, 63 miles of commuting daily. For any extreme, from the road to the racetrack, nothing beats Mobil 1, the official motor oil of NASCAR, and the choice of over half of all NASCAR teams. So put some NASCAR in your car with the One, Mobil 1.
Welcome to the Now Network. Population 49 million. 145,000 teenagers are typing a text message at 70 words a minute. Average speed of their parents, 8. Right now, 90 high schoolers are shopping for new kicks on Zappos.com. None of them got game. 19,000 teenagers are flipping 354,000 burgers to get the new Samsung Exclaim. Just one of 4 IMing, texting, and twittering back-to-school phones you can get from Sprint, starting at $19.99. Sprint, the Now Network.
Hi, may I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people.
The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive. Call or click today.
If human achievement can be determined not by speed or strength, but by character, then it's easy to see who the most amazing athletes really are. Be a fan of dignity, acceptance, and the human race. Volunteer, coach, or compete in Special Olympics.
My Impreza has a Subaru Boxer engine. It's perfectly balanced for performance and handling. I love that engine. And I love anyone else who loves a Subaru engine too.
Impreza love knows no bounds. Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Lease an Impreza for $179 per month or get 0% APR financing.
Tuesday, Versus delivers sports from soup to nuts.
It's faster, it's harder, it's stronger. You need juice!
First at 11, no one in the sports world can hide from Sports Soup's Matt Eisman.
Do you plan on playing in the NFL next year? Maybe.
Can't waffle on that.
Then,
save it for your mama.
Pride and passion mix with a dose of insanity when the fans take over on Fanarchy.
I'm gonna eat this cat.
Sports Soup and Fanarchy. Tuesday night, only on Versus.
Here's the thing that makes life so interesting. The theory of evolution claims only the strong shall survive. Maybe so. Maybe so. But the theory of competition says just because they're the strong doesn't mean they can't get their asses kicked. That's right. See, what every long shot come from behind underdog will tell you is this. The other guy may in fact be the favorite. The odds may be stacked against you, fair enough. But what the odds don't know is this isn't a math test. This is a completely different kind of test. One where passion has a funny way of trumping logic. So before you step up to the starting line, before the whistle blows and the clock starts ticking, just remember, out here, the results don't always add up. No matter what the stats may say, and the experts may think, and the commentators may have predicted, when the race is on, all bets are off. Don't be surprised if somebody decides to flip the script and take a pass on yelling uncle. And then suddenly, as the old saying goes, we got ourselves a game.
The 2009 Tour de France on Versus is brought to you by Warner Brothers Pictures' Orphaned, There's Something Wrong with Esther, in theaters everywhere July 24th. And by Cadillac.
Welcome back to the Tour de France. Well, we need those walls on the medieval chateau up here because George Hincapie is very, very bitter tonight by the team tactics of Lance Armstrong and his Astana team because they've literally robbed him of a yellow jersey tonight. No, he's not on the same team, but really he's not going to win the Tour de France either. This is the man that won the stage, Sergei Ivanov, with a brilliant late move in the last 5 or 6 kilometres. He rode away to an excellent win. It was expected by us, and they hit it just right, and he shook him off. So let's go and see him on the podium first. Sergei Ivanov, Paul.
Phil, adding to the victory that he got in 2001 on the road into Aix-les-Bains, not too far away from where we are here, but he did hit them at exactly the right tactical time. He waited for them to launch a flurry of attacks themselves, and then when he went, nobody had the chance to get onto his wheel, and once he'd opened up 5 or 10 seconds advantage over the rest of the group, he was gone.
Big win for his Russian Katusha team, this as well. They'd hoped for a few with the sprinter Robbie McEwen, who is injured and couldn't start. So Sergei Ivanov gone a long way here to make amends with a brilliant lone win today in Besançon. Now, which way shall I go first? I'll go and shake hands with Bernard Hinault and all the dignitaries.
No, that was a very good move by this man, and he got the victory just 16 seconds ahead of Nicolas Roche. Roche was the first rider out of that leading group of 12 to go on the attack. So Ivanov sat back and waited while they all chased him down, and then he went straight over the top. Good move also by Hayden Ralston in 3rd and Martin Mascant in 4th. Hincapie in 8th place at 16 seconds was hoping that he was going to get a yellow jersey at the end of his day this afternoon, and he didn't, and it stays on the shoulders of Rinaldo Nocentini.
And that's where we're going now, back to the podium. He kept it. It didn't look like he was going to keep it, and I think he needs to go and thank Astana for keeping it because his team weren't prepared to ride until the very end. But he's got it, and it seems Astana wanted this rider to take the yellow jersey into the mountains and deflect the attention of the day. He's led since the climb of Arcalys, so he can climb mountains, but I don't think he'll climb them when it starts on equal terms alongside Armstrong and Alberto Contador. We'll know the answer tomorrow.
Well, we'll have a very good indication as just how well this man can climb, because I have a feeling tomorrow we are going to see a serious battle of the climbers. Andy Schleck, Cadel Evans, Armstrong, Contador, the big names will have to come out and fight and play. And Sastre.
Absolutely. But today he's kept his lead for over a week now, 8 days. in the yellow jersey. Let's go to the Hampton Hotel's overall standings. Look at this. 5 seconds stopped George from getting yellow. I'm not surprised he's annoyed tonight. And look at that. 8 seconds covering the top 4 riders. I think that's got to be the closest situation ever at this stage of the Tour de France, the start of stage 15.
Amazing to think that we're going into the Alps and the top 4 riders only separated by that small amount. Bradley Wiggins in 6th place, looking for 46 seconds. Tony Martin in 8th place. Christian van der Velde still there as a threat in 9th at 1 minute and 24 seconds.
Well, here's the big one. We just hear that Frankie Andreu has found Lance Armstrong, so let's hear what he's got to say now.
George being in the break, a little bit of a gift trying to set him up there with the team riding tempo.
Well,
I mean, obviously he's a good friend.
we wanted him to have the jersey. I mean, would have been great for him. I think it was pretty obvious there at the end that Garmin, must have some sort of rivalry with them and maybe close down that final thing.
AG2R started riding. They didn't seem to really have the strength, and so yeah, was that the reason Garmin came to the front then?
No, I think I don't know, something personal there between those two teams. It's too bad.
And what about for yourself? Feeling good? Obviously tomorrow, big uphill finish.
Feel all right.
All right, thanks.
Well, I think, Phil, go on. I think, Phil, we do know there has been a lot of rivalry between those two teams going on throughout the whole of this season, between Team Columbia and Team Garmin, especially when you talk about the Giro d'Italia, where Mark Cavendish was pretty vocal about Team Garmin just concentrating on the team time trial.
But the damage was done on the course, and it was Lance's team that did it, and he sort of shunned it off there as a nothing. He wasn't doing it, he said. They wanted George to be in yellow. That wasn't the case. The fact he isn't in yellow is down to that team Astana, not anybody else.
Well, it's up to 2 teams, I think, because Team Astana didn't want that gap to get to 10 or 15 minutes, and that's why they kept it at 5 or 6, and then after a while they turned off and they left it up to Team AG2R to do the pacemaking, and AG2R then at that point proved that they didn't have the firepower to do it.
So let's have a look then at the BMW ride of the day. And it's got to be even off, and it is. This was a brilliant textbook attack. Let the boys attack, counter the moves, and while they're all taking a deep breath, hit them hard.
Well, he hit them at the right time. There'd been a flurry of attacks at first off, and as soon as they started to slow down after those attacks, this man went straight over the top, got the psychological gap of 5 or 10 seconds. Then the rest is basically history, getting himself his 2nd stage victory in the Tour de France to add to the one that he got in 2001. That was a great move, and tactically it was perfect.
You deserved everything. That was our BMW ride of the day from Sergei Ivanov, the national champion of Russia. Great performance there. Now I think we can go and have a look how life is on the green jersey competition. Bitterness here today between Hushovd and also Mark Cavendish and Renshaw for that matter, but Hushovd keeps it, diminished by 1 point. His overall lead in this competition is down to 4 points, and there's no race for Cavendish now till a week tomorrow in Paris, so he's got to nibble away at the sprints out on course.
Nowadays he's going to have to concentrate on those intermediate sprint points, 6, 4 and 2 points on the flat stage, on the stages out there before the mountains. It's going to be a big battle, and I think it'll be a needle match between Hushovd and Mark Cavendish as well.
So Hushovd keeps green as we now enter the final phase of the Tour de France, the Alps. That's the standing, 218 to Hushovd. Mark Cavendish is not quite right there at 200. It's a much closer competition than that. Roques, it should be only 4 points separating the top 2. Roques is 3rd, 126. Cholik is 4th, and Tyler Farrer is there in 5th. And Frankie Andreu has moved across now to talk to Thor Hushovd.
Thor, a fantastic sprint at the end today. A big boost for your confidence, nipping Cavendish at the line.
Did I beat him?
It was close. If you didn't beat him, it was very close. Now it's only a 4-point difference between the two of you.
Yeah, I mean it's getting close, but yeah. So I'm of course happy with my sprint today.
Have you ever been in such a close, tight battle for the green jerseys like what you're experiencing here so far?
I don't think so. I mean I'm feeling I'm in good form, and every day I get some points, even in a hard day. So I'm ready for the battle. I'm gonna go every day, go give 100%.
Overall, we have the mountains coming up. How do you feel with your confidence in getting through the mountains so that you can make it to pretty much the next sprint stage, which will be the Champs-Élysées?
Yeah, now it's more to survive, but still I'm gonna try to get points every day if I can, and of course next big goal is Champs-Élysées.
All right, thank you.
Well, as we see Hushoff there, I corrected our caption there, but that was in fact the correct situation. There is 18 points difference in the green jersey because the judges have relegated Mark Cavendish from the front to the back of this big field. He scores nothing for this sprint because he moved off his line, and as you can see, the complaint coming there from Thor Hushoff.
So that's going to make it an awful lot more difficult now for Mark Cavendish to get himself back into competition with Thor Hushoff, especially going into the mountain stages where he's not going to have very much of a chance to get points over the big Norwegian.
It certainly makes it a tougher race for Mark to get green now. Anyway, move on to the King of the Mountains competition. He got this jersey yesterday. He was in trouble today, so Franco Pelazzotti takes the polka dots into the mountains now, and he is a good climber, so I don't think he'll be easy to get that jersey off.
No, because this man was nurturing dreams of a top 3 finish in the Tour de France. He finished 3rd overall in the Giro d'Italia. That's proof that he is a great climber. He knows how to go over the big mountain passes. He will have to nibble away over the big climbs to try and build a lead in that competition, but he will get challenged by Egoy Martinez, who I don't think has given up the ghost in this race.
Well, there's a situation in the mountains, and we have plenty of them coming now. Egoy Martinez is only 3 points behind him. Feliu, who's turned out to be an extremely good climber in his first tour, is 3rd. Christophe Kern is 4th, and Chabanel is 5th. I would rate the top 3 to stay there. The other 2 might drop away as we go on the big climbs now into the Alps. This young man, will he be the white jersey when he gets to Paris? He has led for 11 days the white jersey competition. Tony Martin knows there's only one man he worries about, and that's Andy Schleck.
And Andy Schleck will come out to play tomorrow when we go onto the slopes of the ski resort in Switzerland to Verbier. There's going to be a big battle, and this man will have to try and report present and correct. But he is, if he loses it tomorrow, he still has the ability, Phil, to pull it back onto his shoulders with the time trial around Annecy of around about 40 kilometres.
Yes, if he doesn't lose too much time in the mountains, of course, he can well do that in the 40-kilometre time trial around the lake at Annecy. Shaking hands again with Bernardino and the city officials here. He's a very, very good young bike rider in his first tour as well. There's Andy Schleck, you see, sits back at 49 seconds. We're talking to a tour of seconds this year. Nibali, we haven't seen much of him, but he wants a high finish. He's still 3rd, less than a minute back. Roman Krusinger, I'm surprised he's 140 because he started off in the white jersey. He's still 4th. And Bryce Feliu, he'll go well. The most aggressive rider, and it's gone to Martin Mascand, an interesting choice. He was in the breakaway all day, and they've given him the #1 for tomorrow.
Well, he was aggressive, he was in the breakaway, but tomorrow is a completely different day because there are no more sprinters' days left until we get to the Champs-Élysées. Now it's all about the mountains. We continue the journey around France, but tomorrow we go across the border into Switzerland. Leaving from Pontarlier on the road down towards the ski resort of Verbier. Starts off reasonably flat with a small climb to begin with, over a couple of small climbs. But really, Phil, it's all about the end. It's all about going through Les Moulins, through the Col de Mozès, and then, of course, the final ascent of the day, which is going to be a lung breaker for everybody. Once they get to Martigny, then they know it's all uphill towards the finish, climbing up to 1,500 meters and the ski resort of Verbier. As you can see, a few undulations to begin with, but what tomorrow's stage, Phil, is all about is that final climb to the finish.
That's where it all starts. Remember, we have 8 seconds covering the top 4 riders, so come with us tomorrow for a journey into the Alps and enjoy every kilometer with us. Our live coverage starts tomorrow 7:30 a.m. so it's bed early tonight on the West Coast and get up with us at 4:30 and enjoy the action. We'll race right to the finish in Verbier. We've never been there before with the Tour de France. We're going there now. George Hincapie bitter with his old mate Lance Armstrong tonight. If they're in the same hotel, that's big trouble for both of them, I suggest. Mark Cavendish disqualified from the head of the sprint and put to the back, so things are getting a bit rough in the Tour de France, and we're still only covered by 8 seconds. All our information will keep you up to date on Versid.com. Now the Tour de France begins. I thought it began 2 weeks ago. We'll see you all tomorrow from the team here in France. Goodbye.